Since this isn't really important for our viewers, I'll just say I suspect the various weather fronts we've had coming through have given me some issues. And Denver has seen, oh, and Denver has seen twice as much rain this month as is normal. And in fact, it is raining wonderfully right now. So it's actually wonderfully cool for June. I haven't had to turn the AC on yet. Uh, Anybody in Texas? Yeah, I've heard about how bad Texas is. So, all right, we've reached episode 7. You guys have milestoned up. You now pretty much have access to your first suit of powers. You have had your first serious, major, life-changing experience. I will note, just wanted to note, by the way, I understand that everybody is playing like mostly a normal person now, tossed possibly into a war that they don't want to fight. I don't try to dwell too much on the psychological implications. I'll let you punish yourselves for that. And I also understand, though, that in many Portal Fantasy Isekai tropes, getting shoved into a violent confrontation. I mean, Narnia had to they had to defeat the White Witch, such like that. So defeat in PMP does not mean death. Defeat can be knocked out or defeated. So just to be aware. But those of you who are, going to fight with deadly weapons and understand that, you go for that. Arguments in character, over violence and use of force are fine. Just make sure everybody is not like angry out of character, please. And I will certainly present people who are unpleasant. So just wanted to make that note. This has kind of come up in a couple of these games, and we had a talk actually with my friend Pigeon about that sort of thing. So just let everybody know. In fact, with that in mind, last session, our heroes, the 5 of you, dealt with the aftermath of battle in which the Sky People, in the form of highly advanced technology, armor, energy weapons, and anti-grav repulsor Star Wars land speeder craft showed up, and you, possibly due to the adrenaline rush of this occurring, pretty much manifested to a certain degree a variety of superhuman, superhero, paranormal powers, including magic and telekinesis and rewinding time and pulling even more impressive stuff out of your bag, and swordsmanship way above and beyond anything seen before. And once the battle was over, there was a question about what to do with the people you had captured, who really didn't seem to understand they'd been captured. They weren't supposed to lose. This is new to them. And actually, it's really funny. I just realized there was also some discussion over violence and its use, and when you should use it. So questioning the troopers, the Gator Troopers, which is pretty much the shorthand name I give them, and through the use of various superpowers, allowing you to do things like touch their armor and see where it had been, you determined that that these troopers came from a structure in the middle of an ocean, the insides of which showed evidence of high technology. It was also estimated that there were hundreds, if not thousands, of these troopers who basically maintained equipment and maintained various craft and were trained in the use of force and were given this very stormtrooper Star Wars looking armor and carried advanced weaponry. There was some speculation based on talking to them and things you had seen that there was a case system in progress. You had general troopers, you had commanders, and you had the so-called masters of the world. And there was also suspicion that these troopers were grown in tanks based on some visuals that you had seen. Roland was able to get a skyraft, which he now calls the skiff, working to an extent. It will hover and will move at about 4 dice of flight, which translates to about 25 miles an hour and I don't know, whatever that is in metric. And it was used to tow the other sky raft, which didn't work, away from the village of Faircat. It was also used to deliver captured troopers to the village of Ashcamp. Jarl Thorkel sentenced the captured troopers to work in the fields and livestock pens, figuring they could pay off the damage they had done by effectively growing and supplying work. Executing them wasn't going to help, so let them pay for their damage and trespass by aiding the village. He gifted you with food, water, a writ of passage, and other supplies. You all get, if you haven't written it down, a contact, Jarl Thorkel, and Lamar was given his much-desired coat of mail. I don't know. Did you guys see the little prop that I wrote, the props that I made? Did I post them? My mind, yes, I did post them. I'm scrolling back in our chat. So yes, you really can't read it. I didn't really try to find a fake font, but you have a writ that was read out to you to read pretty much what that file says, and then the map, which you quickly realize is very relative, but not really good. I mean, good for navigation, but not good for actual determining distance. So you have a piece of parchment with basically the villages laid out. And you then hauled the dead sky raft away and ditched it next to the river and started sunward down the great trade road towards the city of Stone and Steel. And if we can presume by this point, you have, if you look at the map that I drew up, you have passed by the village of Calicut. You have gone over the river bridge, and you are paralleling what is called the Bull River, and the river and the road sort of run parallel sunward, and sunward, of course, being pretty much at noon. The road is pointed right at the sun overhead. And to reiterate what I gave you last session, the Great Trade Road is formed of smooth, tightly fitted blocks of something that those of you who are archaeologists or scientists, which I believe is Edgar and Roland, will say this is like stone, but isn't stone. You think it's a composite? You think it's akin to the materials used to create the plaza that had the pyramids in it that seemed to collect electrical storms. All evidence from what you've told and how they look is that these roads have been in place for a very long time, and they show surprisingly little wear from weather or travel. They are quite wide, about 45 or 50 feet wide, so more than enough room for wagons and horsemen and travelers to pass in either direction. In fact, 45 feet, 50 feet wide is somewhat significantly wider than the average two-lane road. And they have curbs and gutters to an extent. And you will note that about not at the rate the skiff travels at, which is about roughly four times as fast as a person can walk. Wait, 25 divided by 4 is 6? Yeah, more like 10 times as fast. At 25 miles an hour, about every 1 to 2 hours, you pass what you would consider a way station, which on foot would be every 8 to 10 hours. And way stations are a large room and a stable and a protective wall and sort of an open space. And apparently they're there for travelers to take refuge in the evenings. And the road is usually very straight and level, unless there is obstacles in the way of hills and other such structures, in which case it'll just curve around them. Unlike, say, a modern highway, they don't chop their way through. And whenever there's a river or other depression, there's a pretty sturdy bridge that you go over. And Roland, you are piloting the craft from the bridge. And of course, the moment you pretty much don't touch the controls, this vehicle is going to hover to a stop. but the rest of you have more than sufficient space. Like I said, this thing's about 25 feet long and comes out to be about 6 or 8 feet wide, and is shaped kind of like a steam iron, pointed prow, flat rear, upper deck, which is where the pilot is. Jack likes to get up into the up there and accompany Roland, and just sort of stretch his arms out. And at 25 miles an hour, it's not a strong breeze, but enough that he can just sort of, hover, not even hover, but just sort of glide without really letting go. And then whenever he kind of like wants a treat, he'll come down and bug you. And as noted also, he started to groom your hair. There's not a lot of parasites, but he goes through it anyways. Maybe he's trying to snitch bits of hair for a nest or something. You're not sure. But he definitely enjoys the transport, and will flit around as needed. So anything with that in mind, anything I should know about from all of you?
I just
Lamar?
like not a lot of parasites. So that's what I got there.
Yeah,
Go
what you would, Edgar, one of the things that you may be surprised is the pallets and such that people sleep in. They don't seem to be like fleas or biting flies or ticks or things, mosquitoes. If you've been like expecting that, or no-see-ums or gnats, really, I mean, there are insects and such, but the ones that seem to be a pain don't seem to be around or exist, or if they are, they're not very common. So I mean, that's kind of nice. You don't go out into the field to look for stuff and come back with little bug bites all over the place.
That's
Anyone else?
convenient, given the fact that the skiff is open topped.
Yeah.
Lamar,
There's plenty of birds and other flying things, so there's still, but you're not going so fast that might be a trouble.
Lamar's just trying to get a workout in the middle of the skiff, just like doing, just a bunch of squats, and he's doing, push-ups, and he's doing that stuff at the apex of the push-up. He's like holding his hand out for like 5 seconds, and then he's like just getting all just the pool of sweat in the middle of the place.
I wonder if I can create a giant hamster wheel.
Oh, can you?
I think I think so. And I would find it funny. So yeah.
What about one of those wheels? I've got one that like my cat uses at home, and it just kind of goes, but goes nowhere.
That's something we can. Let's give that a shot.
Fantastic. Give me that space age treadmill. I'm about it.
Hamster wheel, yes. Okay.
Yep. So Edgar will do his construct thing and make one of those for Lamar.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
I don't know if it's been obvious yet, but Lamar moves certainly. Let me see. How fast do you move now, Lamar?
My leaping is at 40 and my swimming is at 2D.
But what's your running?
I don't think I have running, at least not as a power or a skill.
Let me look. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. Let me look at version 2.
Yeah. My agility?
Oh, no. Yeah, you don't have any superhuman running yet. However, your toughness has gone up, and has your agility and might. I mean, you're physically quite capable. And so, yeah, whether it's obvious to you or not, you are significantly stronger, faster than you were.
faster, stronger, better than I was before.
You're not the $1 million man. It's okay.
Yeah, I didn't spend anything on this.
Have we passed anyone, or have we seen other people?
Yes, you do. I'll fix this later. You do. You first of all, the road is not completely empty. You pass what are obviously other travelers, some of them farmers types, some of them are couriers, some are mounted on horses, some have animals that are drawing small carts, some are armed and armored, perhaps, especially initially, you might see recognizable Huskarls who are probably going out and riding a circuit to see if everything is fine. You also see structures out to either side of the road. You pass a couple of dirt roads that are wide enough to obviously see regular use. You also pass tracks and trails, and you see buildings to either side. They look like farmsteads or ranches, are small communities. The map that I gave you really only shows the larger walled villages, and a lot of what you see often has like a protective fence. And we're talking like a stockade type deal, because you still see large animals that are not various kinds, herd animals and other things that are out there. And you see various peoples, go past. You certainly, anytime you pass, you are given a bit of a wide berth and often a stand and stare, mainly because the vehicle isn't particularly noisy and it's moving along. There's nothing pulling it. It has no wheels. So there's this just stop and stare and wonderment. Now, granted, you look like relatively normal people, so they're not sure what to make of it. Anybody with like augmented hearing or such, if you have that as a super sense, or good perception, you may occasionally hear like wonderworker dropped as that explains what we're seeing. It must be some sort of wonderworker thing. And you probably see some gestures that you would interpret as a sort of like the equivalent of crossing oneself or something like, I don't know what I just saw, but I'm gonna put up a sign to protect myself from, if in case it's bad spirits. I'm not. And you also get some of the, I don't know what I just saw. I don't know if I saw anything. I'm gonna ignore it. I didn't see that. It's perhaps if you had a much more conventional wagon, it would be a different case. But on the other hand, you don't have to feed any horses, and you're moving way faster than a conventional wagon.
I mean, if we wanted a conventional wagon, we could just have Lamar pull it.
Dude, I couldn't do it all day. I get my workout in there. I like where you're thinking. I like where you're thinking. I'm about it. 2 birds, 1 stone.
Maybe one of these days. For now, we can just use the skiff.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, like an actual boat in our world, it has like the skiff written on this, like near the prow. Of course, it's in English, so we're the only ones that can actually read it. All right. So,
All right.
Based on what we were told, the closest city was what, by wagon? How many days travel? We got an estimate.
So the city of Stone and Steel lies a good distance away, but there are, from what you've been told and what has been said, that there are settlements along the Great Trade Road, and there are other what would be, I mean, in modern terms, there's other countries that lie between you and there. This Jarldom of Thorkel is very small. I mean, it's spread out only because it's each settlement is a couple of hours, a half a day from each other, and wherever they can find the best land for what they want. It's you can't just re-irrigate ground. This isn't civilization. You need to actually kind of find ground that suits you. So stuff is kind of widely settled apart because flat ground or water or something useful is there to place it. So the next major towns are going to be probably, well, at the terms they give you, a couple of hands of days down the road before you reach anything larger than small settlements. The impression you get is where you are is settled, but not very densely, much like really old England or the initial European colonization of North America, where things were sort of scattered, and there was a lot of wild wilderness effectively between settlements. So you've got a little bit of, now at the rate you're going, you probably will be maybe no more than a hand of days. You'll probably be in among the larger towns that you've heard of.
Okay, that's what I was looking at, is how many times we may need to stop.
Well, speaking of stopping, you're the one driving. Why don't you give me a perception roll?
Okay.
While we're doing that, are we still in the Jarldom area? I think they said Thurso was the furthest city that was under.
Yeah, you've gone beyond that.
Okay.
You've gone beyond that. Yeah.
Lamar is now like occasionally just putting a sword in his mouth and just getting used to it. Like it won't be uncommon for him to just be like walking around, not doing anything with it, just sword in his mouth.
That's got to be unsanitary. I got one success, by the way.
I mean, mouthwash and shit, right?
Who has danger sense?
I do.
And just you?
And I feel like we have a clairvoyant, so that maybe also qualifies for danger sense.
Yeah.
Only if clairvoyance is running. Lamar, while you are attempting to see if you can fight with a sword in each hand and one in your mouth, which I think NPCs down the road are just going to have to go take a lie down when they see that in action. And the rest of you are either playing with Jack or trying to mentally construct a hamster wheel out of force fields, or perhaps taking pictures or otherwise distracted. Lamar, give me your danger sense, please.
I got 4 successes.
Okay, that is definitely good enough. Lamar, you are sort of practicing. You're going through your constant training, self-training. You're working to see, will this technique work? And the skiff is moving along quietly. One of the nice things is that it doesn't wobble very much. It moves pretty smoothly. And unless you go over something really bad in the road, like a big ditch or go off road where it has to constantly adjust to the ground underneath of it, and even then it moves rather smoothly depending on what altitude you get it to. So it's wonderful for you to do this. You have a pretty stable platform even while moving, but you're ready. You've got it in your hand. You're ignoring I think that's unsanitary. You know what you're doing. You've got this. You've seen it in action. You know it works. But then you realize there is something. You kind of feel that there's something in the road that isn't safe. There's a sense of, I want to say, well, yeah. There's that samurai sixth sense that you get where something's not right, or something is there's a threat to you and your companions, and it's in the road.
Oh, hold up, Roland. You feel that?
Feel what? I'm kind of busy driving here.
Like, what is it?
Killer intent?
Like in anime, like that. You can feel that intent to kill or harm or do something bad. I don't know. I'm working on that. But there's something in the road over there.
In the over where?
And he points in that general direction, like
in the direction you're going.
Yeah.
If all of you turn and look, those of you who do, what you see, what you probably all initially think is that there are 3 ostriches in the road, kind of in a little cluster, looking at the skiff, Roland, as it comes along. Based on like how wide you know the road is, these things are actually pretty big. They have, they don't, I mean, you initially think ostrich. They've got sort of a hairy feathered body, a long neck, powerful legs, but they have very large hooked beak-like structures, and they are looking kind of, they're doing that head tilt that you get too as you bring the vehicle to a stop. How far do you keep this the skiff off the ground? About 2 or 3 feet?
Most of the time, yeah, it's not very far.
Okay.
Mostly because he feels like if people could see the bottom, they might go sky people. So he wants to avoid that particular connotation.
And,
at this point, though, it's probably safer to land the vehicle now.
Okay. Well, the other thing I'd like to note is, due to the agreement we made, you maybe can get about 10 feet off the ground. So you can't be flying high in the sky like they were. So you bring it to the ground. All right. Is anybody up in the prow of this of the skiff right now?
I mean, I'm obviously not, because I'm.
No, you're up in the bridge.
Yeah.
Well, the scary thing, Roland, is you bring it down and you're like, okay, so the bridge is about 8 feet from the deck. I'm about, wow, those things are like 10 feet tall. And anybody's on there, you have that waist-high wall, that sort of, how the hull extends up to form, God, I can't think of what it's called on a ship now. The gunwales, basically. But anyways, you've got that waist-high wall that forms, that protects the deck and runs along the edge of the deck. So this thing, when this vehicle is landed, it's about 5 feet from the ground to the wall. And these 3 bird-like creatures are easily staring over that and looking at at all of you and coming forward. And you would think, based on the way they look, these are not so much, I mean, they have like the size of an ostrich, but their physical form reminds you more of like cassowaries. And they've got really heavy beaks and that sort of scaled necks and heads, and then feathers further down, and real serious claws on those feet. And they are looking intently at the 4 of you on the deck of the skiff.
Hey guys, do you guys see this Dodrio out here? Like,
wait, is this a bathroom break again? Didn't we take...
Giant birds.
Those giant ostrich Pokemon? They're like staring at us right now. And he's like, he's going to stand up and it's like, we are not Australia. We are not losing this.
Freya's taking pictures of the birds.
So wait, Lamar is shouting at them.
Yeah.
So
Get
one
out
of
the way,
them.
bird.
Oh, so one of them
That's not a
comes
good
forward,
idea.
and the scary thing is, it's on the road, and you're up on the deck, and it's kind of looking you almost eye to eye. It's big.
Oh snap! Does flour exist in this universe? He's gonna say outside. He's gonna say out loud.
Like
Okay.
bacon flour?
Yeah.
They make bread, so probably.
Why?
Look how big those legs are, man. We're gonna have the giantest fried leg in the history if this bird does not get out of our way.
Oh, well, bless your little heart. You think we're gonna win this if we fight them?
They're animals. I might be able to scare them away.
I mean, please do, but I mean, like, I haven't had chicken in a hot minute.
I kind of want to see Lamar fight the birds.
I think I'm not the best with birds, but I'd think big birds like that might be more likely to take it as a threat, especially with your yelling. Lamar.
What am I supposed to do? Like, is it like a dance? And he like starts like doing the like do the chicken dance? Like what?
Yes. Roland, scare them, Roland, please.
Yeah. All right. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to go into Edge because we're starting to. So Lamar, I have everybody's edges from last session. Lamar, you are at the top. Now, I once again reiterate. I'm going to stop mentioning this, but I once again just mention again. You can spend a resolve to jump the order. I can spend a resolve to jump the order. Once a PC jumps the order, please don't do it again. And if I jump the order, I won't do it again. We don't want to keep climbing that ladder. But starting at the top of the Edge chart at a whopping 18, Lamar, you can do whatever you want with regards to these three creatures.
He's gonna start, waving his arms and like waving them around, dancing like, hey, get out of here, ostrich, cassowary, Pokemon.
Is this an attempt to do a combat stunt to like scare them off?
Yeah, I'm doing the classic shoe maneuver. What dice do I need to roll to make that happen?
You know what? I would say this is a taunt. So you're going to, because it's basically going to anger, confuse, distract, and nerve the opponent with banter, jokes, threats, wisecracks. So use what's better for you, charm or command, against their willpower.
We'll go with charm with my 5 dice or 4 dice. I'll use a resolve to explode 6s and get an additional dice, I guess. Yeah.
Well, don't use your resolve yet until you actually have a 6 to explode.
Okay. Well, I have 3 6s to explode.
Oh, jeez.
All right. So yeah, so 3, 4. Another 5. So 5.
You got a total of 5?
Oh no, 6s are 2, right? And then they explode? Yeah. Okay, so yeah, never mind. Then 8.
8. Oh my god. Okay. All right, hold on a minute here. So 8, 5, 4. All right. You beat one power roll by 8. If you do the math, yes, I rolled 0 on 3 dice. You beat another one by 5 and another one by 4. Now, One of the things you can do now, sample effects include for the 4 is -2 to challenge rolls or can't move, or -3 to challenge rolls or lose next turn to act. Now, if you want them to run off and flee, I would say that qualifies under can't move. So that may just have scared all 3 of them away.
Yeah, and don't come back unless you bring biscuits with you.
All right, so much for this. So Lamar, you start dancing around. Now, to their credit, one of them takes like a really rapid peck with that beak, and there's a cracking noise as it hits the upper railing or the upper wall around the deck. But you're jumping around, and Roland is like, maybe I can scare him off. Maybe I can do something. There's got to be a spell that'll work. And I'm also going to say that I think I heard some like taking pictures, so maybe some flashes going off. These 3 creatures just sort of like back off. They decide whatever this is too big to eat and too weird, and they sort of scurry away. And and they lope off pretty rapidly in through the brush, and you realize, there's a reason they're so tall. Like the growth comes up to about those thighs on these things, and they can easily see over it, and they sort of get away a distance and then kind of come to a halt, cluster around, and they watch as you go away, sort of like, trying to make sure you're not coming after them. Roland, do you start up after they clear the road?
Yeah, after they're clear of the road, you might as well move on. If we see some Huskarls or something, I'll warn them that we saw those giant beasties on the road.
Well, you do pass some travelers, and they are very thankful that you tell them of this, because these things are known as ripping birds because of their habit of running down prey, pinning it to the ground, and then tearing it to pieces. And they are thought to be fairly fearless. The fact that you chase them off is they find that kind of amazing.
Yep. I can't get any credit for that. That was all Lamar.
What?
Yeah, well, Lamar and common sense are 2 things that don't go in the same sentence.
Light bulb goes off in his head, and he's like, "Oh wait, we don't even need flour. You have flour, right? Right, Ashling? You just pull like flour and barbecue sauce. We don't even have to come up with our own barbecue sauce." Oh my gosh!
I can't believe you danced off a bunch of dinosaurs.
That is essentially what they were.
You think the
Freya,
Peter Quill.
I'm more
Yes.
and more with you that this is all a dream.
I tried telling you. I still think that.
Oh my gosh! Do you think that you can just pull out a full-on like functioning McDonald's cheeseburger out of your bag at any moment?
I mean, she did give me a bag of potato chips the other day.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but that's like a process thing. But like, can't you get like a freshly made like hot hamburger out of her bag?
Probably.
I mean, I don't want it. Too many carbs for me. I'm just trying to see exactly, like, are you actually reaching into McDonald's and stealing it off the griddle, or like, would you be? Can you high five the chef as you pull off the fries? Because like after about 0.5 seconds, the McDonald's fry starts going down in a rapid rate. Like you got to get them fresh out the dipper, right?
I thought there was too many carbs for you. How do you know this?
I wasn't always a machine, man. Like, hey, I have cheat days. Sometimes I like to eat, McDonald's.
Roland, he's a weeb. What kind of question was that?
I don't, right? Like, geez.
Fair enough.
I'm still an American, damn it. Like,
By the way, Ashlyn, for the record, Jack disappeared the moment these things showed up. He
Oh,
was
I
like
figured.
totally. And then once he peeks out, he's like, "Okay, it's safe for me to come out again." Yeah, he wanted nothing to do with these ripping birds.
Fair enough.
So, so I have a question. You talked about stopping,
Yep.
and there's some talk about like flour and such. Do you periodically, stop the vehicle and everybody gets off to take a break and attend to nature and maybe look for water and forage about?
Every few hours at least, unless somebody's like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Let us stop now.
Okay.
I mean, Roland's
Get
not a
there
slave
when we
driver.
get there.
Roland's not a slave driver. He's not like me when it comes to a road trip, because when I'm on a road trip, I will basically drive until the vehicle needs gas. That's when you stop and stretch and get food and drink and etc.
Well, I can totally understand that. When I drove from Baltimore to Indianapolis for Gen Con, I knew that was a 9 to 10 hour drive. So cruise control and the USB drive in my glove compartment for music and stopping only when you needed gas, unless unless you really, really needed to get out of the car.
Yeah. Or
But
with my uncle, we had a 2-bottle doctrine. We don't stop until we need to refresh these 2 bottles.
so when the skiff does stop, do any of you wander any distance away from it? That's not a loaded question either. That's
So maybe slightly. I still want to keep it in view, but I definitely want to look around some.
Ashlyn would as well. She'd probably travel a little further than Edgar. She's not afraid of losing her way.
okay.
Lamar is just leaping around, so he's trying to like work on his accuracy with his jumps. So he's just going to be like jumping from the ground to like a random tree branch, and then jumping back down, and then hitting the skiff, and then jumping back up. It's like just like pinpointing.
I will note that those who see him doing this, let me see. Yeah, he is easily leaping 30, 40, 50 feet in a single bound. It's a little crazy. But then anybody who's ever watched any Chinese wuxi movies, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, even though it's like 20 years old, you get that same thing, that sort of, leap and then kind of fall. And he's not hitting the ground and cratering. He's hitting the ground a lot softer than he should, because I think in Lamar's mind, that's how this works. You know what? Thank you for telling me that, Ashlyn. So I'll keep what you said in mind. Edgar, you are out exploring as you do. You can see Ashlyn has wandered off into the growth. You can hear distantly Lamar bouncing all over the place. You may actually be moving away just so you don't have to watch that nonsense. And you see something interesting. The grass ranges in height, or the growth ranges in height, from pretty low to the ground to maybe knee to almost waist. It's not super high, which is good. You may have been in places where there's on Earth where there's elephant grass and cane and such, and you're talking literally 10, 20, 30-foot tall grasses and bamboos, and you can get in there and you're just lost until you find the edge. So in this case, you can reasonably keep an eye where things are. The ground is hilly-ish, and there's copses of trees and there's gullies, but it's not super broken up. And there's that weird sensation where it just kind of goes on and on and on and on. But you see something interesting. It's a cylinder. You would think it's about 4 feet tall and capped. So it extends out of the ground. It looks very much like the same material the road and the energy pyramid plaza was made from that same sort of stone-like substance, and it sticks up out of the ground, and it has a little cap on it, and there are 4 equally spaced vents on this cap, and it just pokes out of the ground, and you doesn't seem to be attached to anything. And if you bear with me for a moment, I'm going to see if I ever actually found the dang drawing I made of this. Do I have it? Ah, here we go. Yeah, please ignore how this is sort of what you see.
So that implies there's something underground. That's really interesting. Do we have a way to look down there? I probably don't. But I wonder, maybe I'm gonna go back to the skiff real quick. Run back to the skiff. And it's like, hey, maybe Freya, do you have anything like an endoscope or something like that, or something that can? There's some structure there. I think there might be something underground over here.
You're talking to me?
Uh-huh.
I could try to see if there's something down there. I don't know what I could do, but
yeah, I don't know if you have a camera attachment or something small that you could take a look at or something.
no, but I might have another way. If I touched the thing, would I be able to tell like how far down it goes and if there's anything under it?
Right. So Edgar, you bring Freya back to look at this.
Yep.
And Freya, you see that object that is drawn there in my that little, and that's pretty much, it's, if you say it's about 4 feet tall, and so it's rather wide. It's like maybe 18 inches, 2 feet wide at the base, tapers slightly, has that peaked roof, and there's those 4 what are openings which look kind of like vents, but neither of you see smoke coming out of it or anything like that. And Freya, are you going to go up to it?
Yeah. Edgar wants to know if there's maybe something underneath of it, so I'm gonna go up and kind of put my hand on it to see if I can get like a flash.
All right. Well, the first thing that you notice as you put your hand on it is, there's a very faint vibration being transmitted through this stone that is not stone. Give me a hearing perception I don't know if any, you guys may eventually get various augmented senses. So if you don't, if I say hearing perception and you don't have anything special, just roll your perception. So please give me a perception.
4.
Okay. So several things and we'll get to your flash in a moment. You put your hand on it. You can feel it's vibrating faintly. You also realize air is flowing out of those vents, not powerfully, but reasonably a steady flow. And you can hear a very faint noise that you would associate like with a fan, a whirring kind of fan. And I'm going to use that perception for your psychometry. So the other thing that you get, you kind of close your eyes, you've got your hand there, and then your mind's eye drops, like you're dropping down this smooth tube that is not, it's very dark, but you know it's there. And you have flashes of ducks and these whirring fan-like devices that are just spinning, pushing air up and out. And then you have sort of a flash of a vast space, and you're not sure what's in that space. There is the hint of objects and the impression that all of this is very far away or such. There is no sense of danger or threat. It's just there. It's it's that. The other thing is that you are there kind of leaning against it. Edgar, you can see she's leaning against it. And Freya, the side of your face, because you've got your hand here and you've got the vent blowing, but the side of your face here feels greasy once you sort of pull yourself away from the, like, and greasy not in the idea of you've been cooking, but more like you've been spraying like a certain kinds of lubricants around, like a graphite lubricant. You get that very oily, smooth feeling. So it's not sticky. It's not, whatever, but it's like very slick briefly.
Okay. And I don't get a sense of how far down I went, right? Just that
Very far. It just goes down, and there's and the improv. So the other thing is, there's nothing under your feet. Whatever this is connected to goes down a pretty serious distance.
Okay. Do I get a sense of a door or some way inside? Okay.
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna tell Edgar. I think you're right. I think there's something down here, but I think it's really, really, really far down. I think there's some kind of maybe elevator or some sort of tubing system that goes straight down. And if you come over, like there's air coming out, and you can kind of hear
like a turbine kind of thing. So air. So something is pumping air. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I wonder. Okay. I wonder how far down it goes. And I wonder if it's related to like the environment. Huh. Okay.
I don't know. I just know it's very dark and I don't know what's down there, but it's very, very far down.
All right. Well, I guess no one's going to come out of these holes and jump us anytime soon. Knock on wood, but that's good
I
to
don't
know.
sense any danger. I don't feel like there's anything that's going to come out and hurt us. It just
the vents are about
empty.
this. Yeah, the vents are about this big.
I figured the vents were small. I meant more like if there's elevators or manholes or something like that. There's something down there. Okay.
Freya touching it. There's no space in that tube. A person could conceivably squeeze through there, provided, but the tube seems to be a bit narrower. It would have to be a very small person, and there's no ladder or anything. It's like a vent tube that just goes straight up.
I was about to say, is it pre-lubed? Because it's given like lubes grease to the side of her face.
It feels that way.
Yeah. And you're telling me that this hole is like an air conditioning vent?
I don't know. I just know that it goes very deep down into the earth. I don't know what's down there. I don't think that there's anything dangerous. But I'm not 100% positive on it. That's just kind of what I feel.
How big is Freya a small enough person to fit into this hole?
It seems like dropping down this hole would probably kill someone based on the description.
I mean, dropping, yes. I mean, we can have rope.
No offense. Okay, maybe a little offense. I don't know that I trust you to lower me into a hole where I don't know where I'm going to end up.
I'd go down there myself if I'd fit.
Also, there's like fans and stuff, so maybe it's not something.
Yeah, I don't.
But I'll bet you there are other entrances. So this might be something we can watch out for, because if this is a vent, there's probably other vents, and if there's a way down there, there's probably something, elevator, something somewhere, or stairs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
He's going to do the time tested echo test down the vent.
Like I said, the vents are about yay big, so you're not. You can fit a hand in there if you want. You can shout into it. Any sort of shouting is going to be muffled. It does echo a little bit, but it's not actually big enough to get a really good echo. But shouting doesn't you don't really get a response. Anybody who goes up to it, you can feel that there's an airflow coming out. It's not super strong, but it's pretty steady. If you put your hands on it, like I said, you can feel it. There's a very faint vibration going through it, maybe from the air or something down there moving. You can faintly, if you listen, hear that sort of noise, that faint noise of that you would associate with like a fan moving, but far away, or maybe certain fans in series pushing the air out. And anybody who hangs out in front of one of those vents for a period of time will get on their hand or their face, will get sort of for a little while after pulling your hand away from the face or away from the vent, will get a greasy feeling, which will then fade.
For a suspicious reason, Lamar is just chilling with only his right hand above the vent.
Okay.
All right. He moves out of frame for no reason whatsoever.
Leaving your hand there, I mean, you can feel it, like I said, it feels like you've sprayed it with WD-40 or ST or like a graphite lubricant. If you do that, and then it dries, or it kind of, I'm going to say dries, but doesn't leave anything behind. It's a strange sensation.
What happens if it gets sprayed on something like a piece of paper?
If you hold like a piece of paper up?
Yep. Something that's going to be much more porous than like human skin. Well, yes, we are porous. It's not exactly the same since we're also consistently just leaking oil.
So Roland, you do that, and you hold like a sheet of paper there in front of below where the vent is, because they do blow out, down and out. And after a while, you're positive that piece of paper is slowly being broken down.
Pretty sure this just stripped off a small layer of skin. I don't think we want to expose to that too often.
Anybody who does that, not exactly. It'll break down like a piece of paper. Your hand, like if one thing you may be is that if your hand might exfoliate like the outer layer, but it doesn't seem to, like, if Lamar leaves his hand there for like 10, 15 minutes, it doesn't break his hand down, but when he does pull it back, it looks a little newer, like an outer layer of dead skin has been removed.
Yeah, that's kind of what he was alluding to, is that it's removing dead cells.
Okay. Sorry.
Great for your skin regimen. Yeah, no. Roland was also being kind of cryptic about, like, oh no, it could kill you, because, well, he thinks it might be funny because Lamar just kept his hand there for reasons, apparently. Sorry. Does the paper dry up, or does it just like start to flake into pieces?
If you just leave it there, it eventually gets broken down into, like almost nothing. Like whatever you're holding between your fingers is left, and the rest of it just sort of dissolves or flakes away and disintegrates.
So apparently this is breaking down non-living matter. Does it do the same thing with like a leaf?
Yeah, it'll do a live leaf. I mean, if you like pluck a live leaf, it's hard to. It doesn't seem to be as. But if you put a definitely dead leaf up there, it'll break it down.
It's putting this into the atmosphere, into the air that we are breathing as well.
Yeah, but it's not affecting living cells in the same way it is dead cells. Sure. This is actually kind of interesting. I wonder.
Pull this stuff up in mass quantities.
We do have to remember, don't forget Ashlyn. She wandered off that way.
Oh,
What? Freya
You know what?
turn around and go look.
You know what, Ashlyn? I'm gonna throw this in now, not wait. Ashlyn, you have wandered off, and you were willing to go further from the road to most everybody else.
Mhm.
And while unbeknownst to you, behind you, your companions are gathered around a chimney, like an air vent or a chimney randomly sticking out of the ground. You are looking at, in the distance over there, a very bright white and dark gray and black building that doesn't look to be made, and it doesn't look to be made of like local materials.
Oh, well, she's heading straight for that. In fact, I just wrote down in my notes that Ashlyn wanders off looking for signs to prove her theory about this place being manufactured.
Okay.
Something that doesn't fit seems like a good thing to check out.
Well, as you get closer, what you see is a large portion of a building, not a complete building, but what is definitely a piece of building. And what makes you think that is that the edges of the structure are cut cleanly as if with a knife, but you can see severed cables and attachments and pipes and wiring and what look like articulated actuators just cut clean off. And the entire structure, which does have a floor and some walls, but a lot of the walls seem to be panels mounted on articulated mechanical arms that would let the panels be moved and rotated and turned back and forth and reconfigured into various layouts. You can also see outside of all this support beams and cables and pipes, and this whole structure forms like there's like 3.5 or 2.5 walls around a floor, and there's a bit of ceiling or roof more appropriately, and from your angle there's a pair of windows in actually a solid wall, which from where you are look out from what must be like an observation room, most of which is missing, but you can see like a desk attached to the wall under the windows. And inside the open space of this weird piece of building, and you're positive this is not a solid building, because like I said, the floor is cut away and it's all raw edged, but completely smooth. You can see what look like boxes and some weird like eggs on 4-legged carriages, just all sitting there. And we will let you ponder that for a moment while we get back to everybody else. So you're, where's Ashlyn?
Freya is immediately looking around, trying to see if she can see her.
I'm going to say at the moment, no. She's kind of wandered off, and you're not sure where she went other than that away.
Did you see what direction she went in? Why did she go off by herself?
She went in that general direction, like towards that more brushy area.
Lamar's just gonna pick up Freya and then leap to the nearest branch, see if she could get a sight from up top.
All right, so let me go around the screen here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start with Ashlyn, even though you probably aren't even thinking of everybody else. So you see this, I'm going to air quote, ruin. You see this structure What do you do there? Give me an action, and I'm gonna go around the screen clockwise.
She's gonna approach. She wants to get a closer look at those eggs.
You get. Are you going to stay outside of the structure?
So long as it looks structurally sound, she'll go on, no problem.
Oh, okay. So
I'm kind of worried about that question.
So what you see is there's a open space, and you can see now that you're getting a closer look, there's like arrows and lines on the inside of the paneling of this structure. And there's a pile of boxes, cardboard boxes, and you can kind of tell they have that look of a cardboard box. And there's writing on them and pictures and things. And you can see these ovids are about 3 feet tall. They vaguely have an egg shape, and the bottom of them is an articulated carriage, and they're kind of clustered there in the middle around these boxes, and this thing is not falling apart. It's not like creaking or anything. It looks pretty sturdy for what it is. So you decide, I'm going to step up onto the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And as you do that, one of these eggs lights up. There's like a little light on it. And the dust and pollen in the air illuminates this thin red beam projecting from one of it. And you hear, "Are you there?" in the cutest electronic voice you have ever heard.
Am I going to adopt a second critter?
No.
I think I'm going to adopt a second critter.
We'll have to see about that.
Oh, I don't like that reaction.
Carlos, I'm going to say Lamar, with a squawk of surprise, Lamar grabs Freya and leaps into a tree. So, and we'll get to Freya's reaction to that in a moment. Carlos, though, what are you up to?
So I had the same thought about getting a higher vantage point to see if we can see anything, but instead I'm just going to construct a stairs going up, basically, to go to the top and see how high I can go.
All right, so you construct some stairs. Give me a perception roll.
All right. Four successes.
All right. What you see, so you look around, you're like, well, she went that way. You don't see Freya, you don't see Ashlyn, but you do see, glinting in the sun, a very bright white object with very dark portions, probably a half mile over that way. And it's definitely artificial, though. I mean, the coloration is too stark for it to be like, it's not a stone tower. It's not like a tree. It's not a chunk of rock or anything. It's that white is the kind of white you associated with like polished marble or maybe super white beaches. But you've not seen anything that reflects light like that up until now.
Gotcha. And so we don't see Ashlyn. So Edgar will say, okay, now I'm a little concerned because there's no Ashlyn, but there's something weird out there. So when y'all are done flirting, let's head out that way, and I'll make a slide to go down.
Okay. Lamar, you grab Freya, as you said, and leap into a tree. I'm going to have basically both of you go at once. Freya, what's your reaction to that?
Oh, Freya's first it's shock, and then it is anger, and she's like smacking him, and you put me down? What are you doing? Just no.
I'm trying to help. And
if you drop me, bless your heart, I'm gonna beat you.
First we're gonna need to bandage you up. I'm trying to, please don't make me drop you. And then he's trying to stand on this wobbling tree and she's beating the mess out of me.
Oh yeah, Lamar, I don't care how much evasion you have, anime tropes, I mean, you get smacked.
Yeah. Jeez. All right, he just sets her down, all right, you see her?
Freya freezes on the little like branch that you put her on, and very quickly looks around. Do I see her anywhere?
Give me a perception roll.
I got one success.
Nope. You don't even see the building.
I figured. I'm
You're not
so
sure. You're a
frustrated
little
and flustered.
yeah, you're a little disoriented by being hauled and just all of a sudden 50 feet later being in the branches of a tree. You've been smacking Lamar. You're probably looking in the wrong direction, I mean. I will say, I mean, a one is, I mean, this is not like total failure. I mean, one is reasonable, but so what you do see though is you do see Edgar. He's weirdly standing at the top of a set of stairs made out of nothing, and then you said you took a slide back down to the ground. So you see him slide down and starts walking off in a direction through the brush.
How long does the slide stay there, Edgar?
Oh, it'll go away when I stop concentrating on it.
I'm gonna
there now. It's
Are
probably
you
there
going
for.
to do what I think you're going to do?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take Freya and we're gonna hit the slide. It's gonna be great.
Yeah. Okay, go for it. It's still there.
I can see Freya now.
Freya's not happy.
Roland.
Yeah, I mean, I know, but we had to get down, right?
We could have taken the stairs like the smart person over here did.
Well, the smart person built the stairs to go up and then slid down.
Okay, and we could have waited for that to happen. You didn't have to fly me up in the air and put me on a little ass branch.
This is true. Yeah, thinking is not. I'm a man of action, not thinking. All right.
Well, that was the wrong action. So do better.
No problem.
Lamar is a man of action. Thinking does not become him. Roland. Nonsense is happening over there with the rest of your companions. What are you up to?
Since it seems like we're leaving the road, Roland does not want to leave their supplies unguarded for too much time on the side of the road. So what he's going to do is he's going to lean down, touch his shoes, and say, "To infinity and beyond," and he's going to fly back to the skiff to retrieve it.
Okay.
And then he's going to fly the skiff back over towards where everybody else is. Does anybody know which direction she went?
Well, you can. You have doing what you're doing, you have no idea where Ashlyn went, but you can certainly follow Freya, Edgar, and Lamar, who seem to have an idea where they're going.
Yeah, no, that's why he asked them, "Do you have any idea which direction she went?"
Because I'm sorry, I thought that was me.
No. That's one of the reasons why he like retrieved the skiff so they don't have to walk.
Ah.
If y'all are so far behind, he's gonna make Edgar will make a big arrow. Just a big arrow that way.
Are you
love
falling? Were you falling with style a few minutes ago there, Roland?
Sort of, I guess.
Okay. I just had like childhood flashbacks there for a second. I had no idea. Yeah, all right, but yeah. That was dope. Was that you? The infinity thing?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay. Nice.
Freya's just glaring at Lamar this whole time.
I'm sorry.
Maybe next time ask a lady permission before you pick her up.
I mean, I'll do it if it's not, like I'm sorry. I'm probably not going to ask you for your permission if there's like a boulder or like a laser cannon or like something. I'm just going to move you, but like I'll let the slide be afterwards. That'll be fine.
Edgar will start calling for Ashlyn to see if she can hear this nonsense back here.
Ashlyn, do two things. One, you heard the world's little cute electronic voice say, "Are you there?" And then make a hearing perception roll.
Is Ashley going to unleash Skynet upon this poor world?
Can I intentionally fail it?
Sure.
Because she is so enthralled by this. She's focused. She's trying to, especially after it speaks, she doesn't respond immediately. She's going to be looking at the words. Can I read the language that's written?
Yes.
First of all.
Yes. In big, bold, black letters on the side of the box, of one of the boxes, you have to tilt your head. It reads, Aperture Science Home Security Sentry Turret.
Aperture Science.
Oh no.
You guys have never, I would like to make a note. None of you have ever heard of Aperture. You've never heard of any company called Aperture Science.
Unless we've played the video game.
You have never heard of any company, and so slight change. You have never heard of. There's no game Portal where you're from, and you have never heard of Aperture Science. Give me this one bit.
Is the pie a fabrication? Is it?
The case is a lie.
So yeah, you, Ashlyn, you realize those 4 boxes all say that. You can see there's like a little blue toolbox, and these 4-legged ovids are like they're kind of moving around a little bit as if and one of them is, like I said, pointing at you, and there's a little thin laser beam kind of trying to, like, pointing at you.
Yes?
Oh, you say yes?
Yeah.
Could you come over here?
To whom do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Oh, I gotta use this one. Lo, I have become death, destroyer of intruders.
Oh God, no.
Well, that don't sound very nice. But it seems to me that you're just as much an intruder here as I am. Or might be, I suppose.
Are you still there?
She's at this point, she's just gonna slowly, like, step backwards. And leave it where it is.
Do you step off the platform?
Yes.
Okay. So you do, and there's a moment of quiet, and then you hear sleep mode activated. And then the little, the lights go out and that little beam turns off.
Well, that was unsettling.
Right about then, Edgar, you get a closer look at this structure. And as I described before, it looks to be part of a building. Edges, it's not ragged. What you can see, everything is very smoothly cut, as if like a hot knife just cut this out of a larger structure. And you can, it's obviously technological. It's all metal and composites and wire and rubber and steel and ceramics and who knows what all. You can see the paneling and the support struts and such. You can see that there's, from the angle you're coming up, you can see what looks like an observation bay, except that most of it's been chopped away, looking into a room. You can also see Ashlyn standing a little hesitantly in the grass next to the floor, looking into the structure, and looking a little probably apprehensive. Meanwhile, the 3 of you in the raft, as you follow the arrow and the skiff, see also this structure, this big chunk of building sitting there. And so,
God.
Edgar, what you are closest, and Ashlyn is gone. So, do you have any particular actions at this moment?
So Edgar is calling for Ashlyn. So I don't know if Ashlyn can hear him now.
I think
So
Ashlyn can now hear you.
All right. Ashlyn, posse's coming. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, good. People are getting worried. They couldn't find you. You missed some excellent interactions between Freya and Lamar earlier, but you're okay. All right,
Is
that's
he
good.
bleeding?
Is this not? Actually, by now maybe. We'll have to check and get there. So this building, is this like another thing pulled from another world? You
I
think?
think so. It looks like it, kind of like our plane was.
Like it's
Just a
sliced?
piece of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
What's in there? No.
Yes, and I wouldn't get close. I don't think it's from our world. I ain't never heard of no aperture science. But apparently there are home security devices. Well, turrets specifically is what the box said. And
Okay. Can we
it
take the
seems
box?
it may be some kind of artificial intelligence. But when I asked for like a name or something, it basically said I have become death. So
Like it's going nuclear? Okay.
well, when I stepped away, when I got off the floor here, it went back to sleep.
Okay. All right. There's a bunch of boxes, you say.
Yes.
All right. Can we
But
see
the
the boxes?
she'll kind of like him closer, and the eggs, those things are I'm pretty sure are the turrets.
The eggs are the turrets? Got it. Okay. Huh. I wonder if they activate if we don't step on the floor. And I'm going to ponder that while waiting for the other folks to arrive.
All right. Thank you for giving me a good switch over. Roland, Freya, Lamar, you are in the skiff and you see this building and you can see Ashlyn and Edgar discussing and looking inside the open space formed by the pieces of wall and articulation and such, and they're kind of pointing at something in there as you come drifting up on the skiff. And you can see inside, like I said, there's these 4 ovids, eggs. I am so old. I remember when pantyhose came in white plastic eggs, and
I do too.
I think it was called legs with 2 G's. Yeah, that's what it was. Anyways, but you get that idea on like these weird articulated 4-legged carriages, and there's a pile of boxes, and Edgar is saying something about. What was your line? Sorry, I just went right out of my head.
I wonder if we get activated if we don't step on the platform. If we can pull, yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we can get them without stepping on the platform.
So what happens when you do step on the platform?
Oh, hey, are you alive? Okay, you're alive. Good. And I'm gonna look at you real closely. It's like, okay, nothing. All right. Yeah. Sorry. What was that?
Yeah, like what happens if you do step on the platform?
Ashlyn?
Security turrets activate.
Hey,
Are
Carl,
you okay?
I'm fine.
can you make a construct on the platform and see what happens?
So like a non-living thing. I was thinking of making a construct to see if I can like pull the boxes out or something. But I can try that if you want to know what happens.
Yeah, maybe like shoots like candy canes or like I don't know. Maybe it's something cool.
Well, that would be
Okay.
a very good home security device.
Freya just gives Lamar another evil look.
How about we try? Let's split the difference and do what I wanted to do in the first place. I'll see if I want to see if I can use the construct to like grab one of the boxes and see if I can slide it over, and if the turrets will activate if I try that without touching the ground.
All right. So first of all, you can. How much constructs do you have?
8.
8. Just for the record, let me see here. You can lift 5 tons. These boxes do not weigh anywhere near 5 tons. You're going to grab one or all of them?
I'm gonna try to grab one because I want to see if the turret goes off if I grab one.
All right. So there's 4 boxes. There you can see what is obviously like a little tool chest or tool case up on top, and it just has that it's one of these objects where you're like, that's a bunch of tools, even if it's like an older style toolbox, but it's definitely one. There's 4 of these turrets, all apparently facing out, kind of equally spaced around it. Why don't you roll your constructs? Basically, if you get more successes and I get perception, you were able to sneak out the box.
All right. I rolled very well. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9. Okay, I got it. All right, I got a 6, but you got 3 more successes than me, which means you have the narrative control in this situation. So what do you do?
So I'm basically creating like a claw, like a construction claw type thing, claw hand thing, exactly, and like putting it up, yeah, bringing it down, bringing it up, and pulling it back, like a crane game.
So you do that. These you have not heard these things speak. They all look to not. I mean, they don't look to be doing anything. They're not lit up. She said, Ashlyn said, one of them stated, "I have become death." You don't hear him say anything. You're not gonna risk it. So you bring over a box. It is about 5 feet long, about 2.5 wide. It's a rectangle, and all of you can see in sort of. There's a logo, obviously a logo. There's like pictures of these things showing them like lit up with there's a lens on one end. You can see that some of them have panels that have unfolded and have little what honestly look like gun barrels sticking out, and it is labeled in just this long title, Aperture Science Home Security Sentry Turret. And you see them like positioned in what looks like a house, sort of anybody. I mean, it's not the 50s. It has sort of a late 90s look to it, but you see them positioned like some in various pictures around the house, pointed at like doors and all that. It makes no sense to you. There's a lot of text describing how wonderful they are, how they work, how they can be programmed to do security circuits, how they will learn and such. There's also a whole bit about how they fire 66% more bullet per bullet than regular turrets. And if you look around enough, there's also a copyright 1998.
Yeah. Aperture Science, okay. Anybody know
that? Lamar's gonna step into the room with the remaining. No. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go back into Edge.
Okay.
Oh, let me take those out.
I am become death, it said, and then he goes into the room.
I'm not going to lie. I was playing Borderlands 3 and I heard some loader lines. I'm like, I'm adding those. Those are too damn funny not to use. All right. So we're going to do this. First of all, unfortunately for you, Lamar, well, to explain, a lot of these turrets are simply holding their action. So they're not jumping the order per se. But Lamar, while Edgar and possibly Roland are looking at the box, and Ashlyn and Freya are doing whatever they're doing. Not to mean it, but I don't know what you're up to at the moment. But I know at least Edgar's looking at the box. Lamar, you decide. Well, I'm going to step up onto the floor or whatever this floor part is, and you do. And as you do, you can see these 4 ovals sort of shift a bit. Some lights turn on in the front. You can see in the faint line of a laser beam as they sort of are moving around, and you hear. Let me see here. Hold on. You hear Is anyone there?
Uh, uh, what in the Ultron is this?
And then you hear, would you come over here?
Sure. And I'm going to land directly on top of this thing.
Of which one?
Which one was talking?
There's four turrets, and there's 3 boxes complete with a toolkit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll jump into the one, I guess, furthest into the room if I can make it in one leap.
Yeah, 50 feet would let you get from where you are into this room, about into the middle of the room. Are you you just trying to land and stand on it?
Yeah, I'm doing the anime perch, like like I land on top of the thing.
Okay. Any other action at this moment?
I mean, yeah, my hand is on my sword, like get ready to defend myself. But yeah,
Okay.
I just land on it.
Okay. Then I'm presuming you're holding your next action. You've made your movement action. Freya, you've just saw. You just realized that Lamar has just leapt into the middle of this room and is now standing balanced on top of one of these turrets.
Okay. Um. Have are they hostile yet, or?
They have all activated, but they haven't yet had a chance to. Why the hell did I? Okay, hold on. Something. Sorry, I put your name down where I needed to put something else, Lamar, and I just realized that would have been dumb. They, to be honest, they haven't fully activated yet, so you're not sure. But oddly enough, they said, are you there? And can you come over here? In the cutest voice. You're not sure why they're asking him to come over if they're sentry turrets.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold my action for now because I think that I just kind of want to see what happens to Lamar.
Okay.
Payback.
Yep. All right. Ashlyn. You're on mute. Oh, sorry. Okay, good.
Lamar,
Yeah.
what on God's green earth do you think you're doing?
Yeah, that's if I can come in, and so I did.
Well, I ain't even gonna bother asking if all your friends jumped off a cliff and you follow. Get your ass back here!
I just wanted to see what these things were doing.
His elevator don't go up all the way to the top, does it?
Who wants to use elevators anyway? You burn way more calories on the stairs.
She's gonna cross her arms and sit there,
Wait.
hip cocked,
Right.
waiting.
Now it is the turret's turn. They actually have wonderful perception, which is why they get to go right about now. So this is what happens. There's 4 of them. We'll go with the one that Lamar is standing on first. It starts to trundle around in like a circle slightly, and it is saying, and you hear it say, okay, hold on, where it goes. Where it says, are you, and you hear it say, are you still there? But the other 3 kind of trundle backward, and it's weird because they've got like these 4 mechanical legs, and you can hear them clicking along, and you can see that the bodies tilt a little bit as they sort of adjust, and the laser beam, all 3 laser beams, quite clearly you can see 3 red dots on Lamar's body, and you hear in unison all 3 say, "Target acquired," and you hear one almost in order, little overlap, says dispensing product. Another one says, actually 2 of them say dispensing product, but one of them once again says, "Lo, I have become death, destroyer of intruders." And the panels pop open just like you see on the box, and there's this baka 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 this noise. It's not gunfire, but it is this sort of rapid rattling noise, and they're gonna open fire on you, Lamar.
All right.
You might want to use your evasion.
Cool beans. Yeah. Can I use my strike?
Can you use your strike? Does
My
your strike let you block bullets?
It does. It says projectiles,
Hold on.
deflect missiles.
No, but it lets you project. It lets you arrow cutting. So throw knives, spears. You will graduate to deflecting bullets and things.
Okay. Well, then, yeah, I'll then use my evasion.
All right.
I'll use an all-out defense.
You're gonna go what?
All-out defense. So
You're gonna go all out. All right. So you're basically burning your next action to not get hit.
Yeah. Ooh, 10 dice. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. Yeah, 8 hits.
Right. Let me. I rolled all my attacks at once. Good Lord. Okay, I'm not re-rolling any of this because I don't really want. That's not the point. All right. You're gonna. Yeah. Let's just. What'd you get on your evasion?
I got 8 hits.
8. All right. Complete miss. That was 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. One of them tags you, so you take a point of health as there's a burning sensation as a projectile streaks along your rib. No, you've got that mail coat, so along one of your arms, there's like a welt and a burn and a bit of a wound there. Everybody else sees Lamar. These things are spraying rounds now. They're not. Their blast is not area, thank goodness. But they are like spraying rounds, and you don't see any spent shells falling out. So you're not sure what they're doing or what they're firing, but you can tell because on the other side of where they're shooting, where there's like wall, you can see like stuff is pinging off of there, and you can hear the sound of spent rounds falling to the ground. And Lamar does this sort of anime, woo 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 woo, and then you're holding like one arm, and there's a moment of quiet, and then you hear, "Are you still there?"
I will not be there if I'm allowed to not be there.
All right. Well, you took your action and went full out defense. So that's everything you can do here. However, Freya and Ashlyn, you both had a held action, and then we'll get to Edgar and Roland.
He seems to be doing fine.
I'm going to go ahead and use my leadership and tell him to move his ass.
Okay. That will let him re-roll a roll. You can buff instead, which will give him a plus. Okay, buff. Okay, he's going to get a +1 to anything he does next. So everybody actually is going to get a +1 for the rest of the scene. So you have +1 to all your dice until this encounter is over. Edgar, you just saw these these sentry turrets, these home defense sentry turrets. Just unloaded whatever it is that they do, and Lamar is amazingly enough not only not dead but looks relatively unharmed.
So I remember Edgar remembers from the combat with the giant people that Lamar is better at defending himself than Edgar is at trying to help him defend himself. So what Edgar's doing is like he's like ripping open the box. He's looking for a manual. Is there a manual in here?
Yes, there is. There's an entire assembly manual and programming manual. It's kind of thick. It tells you how to put one together and set it up and get everything configured and how to tell it to defend your house.
Yeah, so Edgar's flipping through the manual to look at like the troubleshooting guide to see like emergency shutdown, something like that. And he's talking at the time. He's like, anyway, Ashley, like Lamar grabbed Freya and jumped her into a tree while he was carrying her, and he's like clipping through looking for the troubleshooting. That's what he's doing this action.
All right, it's all written in English, thank goodness. Roland. I like the silent head shake there. What is Roland's action on his edge?
Roland is trying to think of a good quote to be able to create some cover for Lamar to no longer be able to be seen. So what he ends up doing is the closest quote he can come up with is he says, to the ships at sea who can hear my voice, look across the water into the darkness, look for the fog. And he's literally trying to create a fog cloud around Lamar so that the sentry turrets can't see him anymore.
Oh, that's simple. You are creating darkness.
Yep.
And let me look up what darkness does. So that's going to take 6 dice out of how much dice do you have as in sorcery?
7.
So it's going to take 6 of your dice. You fill the space around you with darkness, dust, fog, smoke, or some other obscuring element. Right. So that means they are at -3.
Can I spend my last one to make it so Lamar can still see?
Sure. So Lamar, Lamar, fog comes boiling up out of the floor, and you're surrounded by this thick London, San Francisco fog. Now, the crazy thing is that those red laser beams are super visible. Oh my God, I gave him night vision.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh, yeah, I just realized that. So unfortunately, you realize those red beams, and they seem to be tracking Lamar.
Oh, is it my turn?
And that is the end of the page because the Skyraft isn't doing anything. Lamar, you have +1 dice to everything you do, so you actually leap a little farther, dodge a bit better. I will also note that you can attack and leap away if you wish. Like you can do a strike and then leap out of the building.
Oh, okay. Well then, yeah, he's going to lean forward and he's going to be like, he's like, and just kind of like leap off the one he's like on, and then like try to go through the one closest to the door as he on the way out.
Okay.
That'd be a charge attack.
It can be. Let me take a look here at. No, where's it going? Special cases, charge attacks. You do get a +2 bonus, but your active defenses are halved. But you still have your passive defenses. But I'm going to roll their passive defense. It's passive defense.
Alrighty. I'm rolling 12 dice.
You are rolling 12 dice. Wow.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7.
Okay. I got a 7 on 6 dice. I got 2 6s and 3 1s.
All right.
I got 2 2s and 3 1s. I got, what is it? 1, 2, 2, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I got 7.
I will use luck.
To do which?
I'll use luck to take away a success from you.
Take a. All right. Let me see. Let me check something here. Roll your luck die, and then I subtract those successes from what I rolled.
Correct. And I rolled a 6.
So you take. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So I get 2.
All right. So you're going to do 2 points of damage to that. So you do 2 health. Basically, what you see is Lamar leaps, slashes at one of these things as he passes by, and he lands in the grass. And you see it staggered, and you can see the outer shell of the body has been hacked, and it's sort of sparking a little bit. And there's a moment of quiet once he lands, and then you hear, "I don't blame you."
Sorry, little buddy.
Freya.
Yes.
Lamar has leaped out of the enclosure and is standing on the grass. And there's 4 turrets at the moment active. You can't really see them very well because there's this fog. On the other hand, they quite conveniently have these nice little laser targeting beams that you can see quite well.
Are any of us in the direct line of the targeting line that I see?
They are not. They're actually kind of pointing where he was.
Freya's just gonna say, well, I guess if we just all back away, maybe they'll go back to sleep. That's what happened when you did it, right, Ash? So maybe if we don't run in there, and she looks at Lamar, maybe they'll go back to sleep and we can figure out how to deactivate them. And then I'm just gonna hold my action again.
Okay.
There's really nothing I can do.
All right.
He starts.
Ashlyn.
Ashlyn is going to smack Lamar with her bag like an old church biddy.
She's like, ah, gosh.
Next time, you listen when we speak.
I mean, I was already in the room at that point. Like,
I told you before you entered the room. You heard me.
maybe, yeah. Can dodge bullets, but not bags. Just.
That's all Ashlyn does.
Okay. You are holding the rest of your action as well. Yeah. And then you hear, you basically hear shutting down, sleep mode activated, target lost, and the little laser beams blink out, and there's just this roiling fog. And now you really can't see. It's very hard to see these turrets in there as they no longer detect Roland. Edgar, you're looking through a manual.
Yeah, you're looking through the manual. Saw that they deactivated. It's like, you know what? Let's just take this box. Let's just take this box. The toolbox is here too, right? We got a toolbox with that box.
Yeah, you can have the toolkit, which is a pretty standard all-purpose mechanics kit. You know, screwdrivers, or Torx drivers, wrenches, that sort of a thing.
All right. Does anybody want to? Does anybody want to go in there?
I mean, I'll go. What to do? What? Do we need anything?
No.
I don't know. I'm asking. Is there any reason for us to go in there?
No.
You already. I think you already took one of the turrets, and it'd be great to use it to guard the skiff.
Yeah.
All right,
And now we know exactly what they do.
We could have told you they shot things. They're turrets.
Way to put. I like your optimism. I guess way to put a positive spin on that. I think. Yeah, I'm just going to take this box back to the skiff right here.
Are you injured? Did you actually get hit? I wasn't looking.
I mean, I got clipped, but yeah, it was no worse than the giant people attack. Yeah.
The giant people attack would have killed me if I'd have gotten hit by one of those things.
I mean, see, this is why I work out every morning, doing all the push-ups. You know.
You know what? You're not hurt. I'm not going to bother trying to heal you. We're good to go.
So anyway, Ashley, I wish I had a camera. I am astonished Lamar is still alive, frankly.
Me too.
Not because of the turrets. Yeah, just to be clear.
Did you
If he
really
ever
make a
pulls his-
quip about them flirting?
Someone did. I don't
Could have been there.
Yeah, if he ever picks me up like that again and jumps up in the air, he won't be alive to tell the tale.
I mean, I guess okay. You can stay on the floor. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. I would prefer that.
You know,
I'll keep that in mind.
I think I might be able to recreate your jumping power.
Oh, sweet! Like it comes from the lower body, I guess. I mean, which seems like duh, but like you just gotta. I imagine I'm pushing the earth down, right?
No. I'm just gonna like Roland reaches into his pocket, and he's like using the other hand to adjust his pocket. And he goes, "I'll just use gummy bear juice." And he pulls out a bottle that has like purplish liquid. Hey, it worked.
I remember that cartoon.
Gummy berry juice. It'll make you bounce and jump high. And then he puts it back in his pocket and it disappears.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how I feel about this. Yeah, so I guess we're on the skiff then. Edgar's definitely he's gonna start going through the manual to figure out how to assemble these things.
All right.
Make sure it has all of us listed as owners.
All of us?
Yeah, that way it guards the skiff from everyone that's not us, and it needs to be set to fire warning shots.
Wait, do we need another one? Does it need a friend?
No.
Lonely. Oh, okay. I mean, he can do his crane game thing again. I don't have to go in there.
One is enough, and it better have a very tight range.
I mean,
Edgar.
Can we just all agree to not let Lamar use the turret at all?
I think they use themselves. It's like, is there like a joystick on?
Yes, we
I
can
don't know,
agree to
but
that.
maybe you shouldn't touch
I
it.
hope not.
Don't touch it.
I mean, I've already proven that I don't need one of these things, right?
Exactly.
question for the GM.
Mm-hmm.
About what time of day is it?
Okay, well, it's two things. First of all, Edgar, if you go into the Google Drive and you go into Blue Books and Side Stories, Session 7, there is a character sheet for a sentry turret,
Oh, cool.
complete with dialogue.
Excellent. I see it.
I will note that effectively with a little bit of work, yeah, you found it. You can make this work for you. This is a piece of gear. I'm freely giving it to you. It'll be helpful if you want it. It may eventually be destroyed. As you can see, it's very slow. But it's and eventually may run out of ammunition. You will find a real quick note. You will find that its weapons, it uses a very like a pneumatic spring type projection system, so it just feeds solid slugs, and then they're sort of spring loaded, launched. So it's useful. You do have one. There's 3 others, but you've all decided we don't want to play with this anymore. And I will add whatever Earth Aperture Science exists on to your list of other realities. And the more you look at this, the more this is the most like, I don't know how Edgar, feels about it, but this is kind of the most ridiculous object. And it's like you definitely end up with who came up with this? what nut decided that this was a good idea? On the other hand, Roland's right. It could be useful.
Yeah.
Roland, I'm going to say it's about midday, which is I'm going to say that sounds about typical for a good time to stop and stretch your legs. Because you have come to determine that the day cycle is longer than the night cycle by a good fraction. So if you start around dawn, midday is a very good time to stop and get off, stretch your legs, do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, this would be like Roland's going to look for a nice little clearing where they can gather some firewood, make themselves some lunch. He can help Edgar with setting up the turret. Hopefully find some of the ammunition to be like, while I don't want to necessarily have to reload this thing, Ashlyn, if you familiarize yourself with them, do you think you could make more just in case? He wants the range to be set to keep people away from the skiff so they don't try to rob the group. It's the best way he thinks to keep the skiff secure when none of them are around, but he doesn't want to kill anybody with it. He just wants to use the thing to either hurt them or scare them off.
Okay. Well, with that in mind, I think us taking a break while the PCs take a break is a good point. So let's be back in 10?
Sounds good
Works
to
for
me.
me.
All right. Oh, everybody gets a resolve because that was some hilarious interaction.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, everybody. When we left our heroes, they had withdrawn from this very strange fragment of a building. Not sure you could call it a ruin. And they had withdrawn from some very strange but potentially very dangerous automated little turrets who did their best to put a lot of holes in Lamar, but he dodged with the best of them and got away. So now you are parked in a clearing. You've got a little fire going. Roland and Edgar are assembling one of these things and getting it configured and programming it. And we'll pick up from there if needed.
Considering Roland can and has used his magic to give himself some form of technical expertise, he's doing that again.
Okay. You certainly can you can certainly put dice into expertise and top out, I believe, at this point at about 10 dice of crafting, which will give you a huge edge on putting this thing together and getting it programmed so it does what you want. As I noted before the break, Edgar, at the very least, is probably at times having a total, who makes this stuff? Whose idea? Who thought this was a good idea? But on the other hand, if you can get it up and working, you can have a sentry to protect the skiff when you're not near it. So you can get that.
And Edgar's pretty good at crafting. Normally, Edgar's pretty good at crafting, so he's going to spend some time on this too.
I am not going to ask for any die rolls.
Sure.
Effectively, given the fact that there will be some montages of you traveling, the fact that you can spend extra time, the fact that you may be able to explode sixes and get things like leadership buffs and sorcery buffs, you'll eventually get it to do what you want. If you, for some crazy reason, decide to make it a sidekick, we can even look into that. We just have to figure out how many points it currently is. And like I said, if you look at the little stat block, you can see it's actually kind of dangerous for your dice cap, but it's not that much of a threat if you know what to do. And that was some brilliant use. I like that of the darkness. I just totally forgot they had night vision, but I was like, that's the only way to make that little laser beam, make sense in my head. So,
hey, whatever works.
Are we going to give it like a password so it doesn't murder us?
it's set to recognize us as friendlies.
Yeah, that's what an
Um,
IFF is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's also set to respond to voice commands from
Everybody but Lenore.
What? So is it
What?
going to get to shoot me and I can't tell it
No,
to
no.
stop?
He won't shoot you.
You're designated as a friendly.
Exactly.
I wasn't the one who
shoot you.
programmed who was able to give it voice commands. That was
Okay. So if like Brekka and Vareen are like I bring them back to the skiff and it goes buck wild, I can't tell it to stop it from shooting them.
if we're back at Fear Cat, we just won't turn it on.
If we leave you alone, I don't see that happening very often.
I mean, I promise I won't use it too much to train. All right, like you can let me use it.
Yeah,
we only
you
have so many
qualified
bullets.
Is the problem. Oh, let me see them bullets.
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Oh,
I don't
this
wanna-
ain't gonna be an excuse for you to train.
we have unlimited. He points to Ashland. We have unlimited bullets.
Let me see those.
Here. He's gonna hand her like a case of the bullets because I'm assuming they're in cases in the box.
Yes.
Yeah, that was actually one of the first things he thought about doing was handing a case of the bullets to Ashlyn to see if she could recreate the box.
Yeah, how similar or different are they to ammo that she's used in the past?
They are caseless. In fact, they don't have a powder charge because of the spring-loaded pneumatic firing system. It really is just the bullet.
Oh.
So they're just
this is
pieces of metal.
That's even.
Yeah, it's just fire. It just launches it at a reasonably high velocity, solid projectiles. It's not using a gunpowder charge to project them.
What shape are they?
Yeah.
They're aerodynamic, so because they get punted out by like a piston action, they're flat on one end and tapered at the front, so they look like a bullet but without the case.
Do you think you could make a rubber version of these? Like, it's just a shape in. Maybe you could make rubber ones, or get a piece of rubber and I'll cut it down and then see if we can duplicate them. Because I'd much rather use rubber bullets in a friendly place than solid slugs.
So what you really want are hollow points, so they don't go through anything. But anyway, like, yeah, are they smooth? Is it a smooth bore or is it rifle? Because if it's a smooth bore, we can literally shove anything in that thing.
I can replicate these easily enough. I
Yeah.
can't create things wholesale out of my bag. But these are simple enough, and I mean, just looking at them, I'm pretty familiar with them already. I mean, given my hunting experience, but these are even simpler.
Right. I'm just looking at if we're going to be parked in a town, I'd rather not use solid slugs and have the thing potentially kill a citizen. If we could use rubber bullets, we might be able to just use it to frighten them off without actually killing anybody.
I don't think I can make rubber. I mean, I could maybe pull out a few bouncy balls, and you can, I guess, use those to carve out bullets.
I'd be more than willing to.
I will note that if you decide to go that route, Blast 8D will become Stun 8D.
Which is perfectly fine. That means we can just switch out between actual bullets and rubber bullets. So if we're out in the wilderness, we want to make sure it can kill something that threatens the skiff. But if we're in a town, we don't want to kill citizens. We just want to hurt them and scare them off.
Well, I don't want to stop crime. I just want to fight it.
Yeah, no, if you can pull out some rubber bouncy balls, I could probably carve them up into the appropriate shape pretty easily.
I mean, don't they normally just crumble though? Because of the way they're made?
Okay. I have an idea.
You take the balls, we chop them up, he makes a little crucible daily, and he melts them down, and he forms them into the rubber shape.
That was actually something I was thinking about. We would need some slightly more special materials, but I have an idea. I've pulled stuff out of my pocket, hence and then he reaches in his pocket, gummy berry juice, pulls out the same bottle he had before. It's a slightly different shade of purple. Huh. I guess it's not the same one. And he sticks it back in his pocket. I might be able to pull out. I'm familiar with a particular plaster. It's something that we used when we were essentially making scale models of places we'd been. And the stuff should be solid enough to be fired and then, break when it hits somebody without being lethal. I wonder if I could make some of that. I've got to figure out what spell I would use.
Hey, Ashlyn. Have you ever seen a 3D printer?
I've never worked with one, though. I know vaguely what they are and sort of maybe kind of how they work, but I ain't ever worked with one personally.
Oh, okay.
So no, I couldn't pull one out.
Because then you could just put the 3D printer on back of the turret and it could just 3D print bullets directly into the thing. Oh, genius.
I don't think most 3D printers work that fast.
I mean, it's not that fast. No, I do have 3D printers, and there's also like resin printers and then filament printers, and they need power, and it takes time. So, but that is a really interesting idea, though. I will give you credit for that. I don't think it would work though if it came from our world. Have I told you this technology is crazy? It's like It's like future steampunk. It's really weird. Yeah. Edgar is very excited for it.
No, I wasn't thinking this came from ours, but given that it's written in English, it's probably somewhere adjacent to ours.
So if we're 616, you're telling me this one's from 635 or something like that?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Gotcha.
Oh, what I was going to say, though, for the rubber bullet thing, like, rubber bullets are a thing. They do exist. Police use them. Is that something you can get out? I wonder if we could just, like, use those.
See, I never used any rubber bullets myself. Well, wait a minute. What did they have at the training grounds? No, those were... No, I ain't never used any rubber bullets.
Most rubber bullets are fired out of shotguns or smooth bores. So, yeah, like it's firing rubber bullets out of a conventional handgun is a rare thing indeed.
Okay, just checking. It seems like this thing can use anything, so it's kind of weird. Like, if we can find anything vaguely rubber-like, I think we'll be good.
Yeah.
Oh, that was exciting.
I'm going to say this has to be one of the funniest conversations I've heard. So eventually, if you will allow me, the turret is put together. You can eventually name it. I've noted that it's set to recognize the PCs and respond to their voice. Because it uses, like I said, actually a spring piston system to fire. You realize if you can get anything that'll work in the feed mechanism, you could do solid slug, you could do wood, you could do rubber, and once you decide how to do it using your abilities, you can switch between stun and blast, and you have a pretty effective skiff defense mechanism. Do you tell Ashlyn about the vent that you found? That seemed to have got skipped in all of this.
At some point, totally. Like that's when we noticed she was gone. So totally tell Ashlyn about that. Also, go into a lot of detail about the tree incident, and it's very top of mind.
So once her mind gets off of the Lamar and Freya, she goes back to that. She's like, "Oh, that's more proof that this place is probably manufactured." You said it went like far down, right, Freya?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I can't tell quite how far down it went, but it was really, really far. It didn't feel dangerous. It felt dark and almost empty. if that makes sense. But you could hear it. It almost sounded like fans running, and you could feel air coming out of the little vents.
I'm still just jazzed that there's air conditioning in this world.
Frey gives him another evil look.
This is the build any kind of air ventilating system, right?
Bless your pea-picking little heart.
Okay, I guess.
Edgar had the thought that maybe there's more of those around, and maybe we can find an entrance that leads down, maybe an elevator or something.
It certainly is the underbelly of the world. We might be able to find more info about what this place is, how we got
That would
here,
make
how we can get back.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, you think it's like the Truman Show or something in here?
Good analogy. Yes.
That was a good movie.
It was
It
actually.
really was.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to
And
think if there's
rather
any usable
apt.
quotes from that.
Yeah, like Jim Carrey should have done way more serious roles. Like,
Agreed.
Oh, you
Yeah.
likened? You said this is the Truman Show.
yeah.
I mean, Liar Liar was a great Jim Carrey.
Eternal Sunshine was really good.
Mm-hmm. Such a good one. Have you 23 or 27, whatever that one was? Was it the number 23? You seen that one?
A long time ago.
Yeah. I mean, we all know the real answer to everything is 42, right? Not 23.
The life universe and everything. Yes. That is correct. This is really confusing though. So from all the things we've seen, it's like stuff is getting popped into other worlds. It's weird, like the way that building was sliced. It seems really, well, dangerous for one, but I wonder if it's controlled. Is it random? Is it something that's happening? Like all the people came from other worlds, like that car where you got those poker chips, the weird things that we found, like the key ring and the 6-fingered gloves, and like and us.
Stash.
Yeah, exactly. Like I wonder something's doing that.
I'm not sure that all of the peoples here might have come from other worlds. Some of them, I mean, we heard some of their myths, like which one was it? Was it the hunting people said the world was made for them?
Yeah.
I mean, if some peoples is intelligent enough and has a technology to, create a world, if we're assuming that's the case, who's to say they can't manufacture life as well?
Yeah, like the sky people were being grown, right? That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Well, if we're going that far, isn't it far more likely that we're just living in a simulation?
Yeah, that's why it could be more the Matrix than Truman Show potentially, but I don't know. It's really hard to say
Lord,
until
I
we
hope
find
that's
more
the
info.
case.
I mean, isn't it technically the longer, civilization goes on, the more likely it is that, we're actually in a simulation? I remember seeing that on a podcast somewhere. So it must be real.
Totally. Just like everything else on the internet.
Right.
All right. I love your guys' speculation. It's awesome. Freya, do you have a camera, right?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Okay. So eventually, you continue down the Great Trade Road, following it in what everybody calls sunward, toward this place called the City of Stone and Steel. And you realize that the river that has been following you, that you are pretty much paralleling this off and on. There are occasionally like fords or little bridges to get across, or you can just take the skiff over if you wish. But that is to the sunset side. The sunrise side, like I said, the ground extends out. And as you travel, the trees become less and less. They're not as dense. They're not as thick. They become more scattered. The land opens up a bit more. It's more open. I'm not going to say meadow. I mean, it's a mixture of like meadow and plains stretching out there. And the animal life sort of drops off a bit because you're seeing a lot more scattered homesteads. Lamar actually would kind of remind you of the feel you get of feudal Japan, where there were the clustered villages and then a lot of open area. Now, granted, Japan is much more mountainous, and so that sort of settlements is more like that. But Freya, you are with your camera taking pictures and such, and what you see as Roland is driving along and as Lamar is exercising and as Ashlyn is sort of playing around with Jack and Edgar is tinkering with the turret. If you guys give it a name, you got to let me know. But Freya, what attracts your attention is the river that you've been running along is formed out into a very wide lake. And across from it, you can see kind of an extensive structure. There's docks and houses and other buildings. And while you're sort of zooming in with your camera, you are slightly startled to see two heads break the surface of the lake and way out in the middle of the lake. And then they sort of dive over, and as they dive over, you see two fishtails come up and then drop down into the water.
See, oh, yeah.
Hey, Ash.
Yes.
I think I just saw a mermaid in the lake.
What-
Two of them. I'm not talking to you, Lamar.
Well,
He listens intently.
I mean, I suppose that isn't the weirdest thing we've seen.
I'm gonna take my camera over because I would have absolutely been taking just picture after picture, and show Ashlyn the digital shots that I took.
Didn't they say?
And didn't wow, I'm blanking on his name.
Yeah, they told us about like water
Water
people.
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fair. I was not expecting to see mermaids.
Right.
I mean,
They're not listed in the NPC list as a people, although I will add them if needed. But you had heard that, and I don't think you were given a description, but you had heard that water people dwell anywhere that water people dwell, which is in rivers and lakes. That's a good place to be because it means the water is clean and clear and there isn't big predators in there. So you've heard of water people. You've never. If this is what they are, it's the first time you've seen one.
Yeah, I'll show Ashlyn the pictures that I took of like the heads and them diving and then the tails in the water.
well, I think it's a good time to rest here, ain't it?
Indeed.
I'm willing to stop if you want to.
Please.
You want to go meet mermaids, don't you?
Yeah.
I want to. Yeah. They said that the water is like great to swim and to like bathe and drink in. It's very pure. Like,
I'm not
Yeah,
talking to
why
you. I'm not talking to you. Ash, do you want to go meet mermaids?
my way.
I mean, yes.
Fine, Roland, we need to stop.
Roland.
Now's as good a time to stop as any. Roland's gonna like move around the lake to find a place big enough for the skiff to essentially be like a not quite a central point of their camp, but a place where the turret can cover their camp.
All right. So you have a couple things. You have discovered, and if you're willing to try, this thing can cross the water directly. Now there is a large, there is a series of buildings on the far side of the lake. Like I said, you can see docks and houses and what are probably barns and storerooms and workshops sort of stretched out on the far side of the lake. The lake is fairly big. It's not so big that, the buildings are very far away. If you decide to go around the edge, you discover that there is like a dirt road that leads from the Great Trade Road, goes across a wooden bridge and goes around the edge of the lake until you reach this. And it shows evidence of a lot of traffic. So if you decide, either way you decide to do it, let me know which way, and I'll throw in some more color.
Roland's going to actually go over the water. That way they can maybe if one of the water people like pops their head up nearby, we can take a minute and talk to him.
Okay. So you start cruising along. First of all, this is probably the largest body of water you've seen so far. And one of the things that you notice is it is extremely clear. You are probably used to maybe lakes and parks and things in cities or in such where there's kind of a lot of runoff, fertilizer and dirt and such. So, and they're usually choked with algae. At least all the ones I remember from downtown Columbia, Maryland, were kind of but this is way clearer. Now, granted, there's a lot of green growth down there. There's a lot of waterweed and plants and such, which and probably shellfish and such. So Edgar, at least, depending on his sciences and knowledges, may be like, well, yeah, that's going to keep the water a lot clearer. And you see like stuff moving around in there. And as you get out about halfway across, a couple of things happen. First of all, a fish that is about as long as the skiff comes up. It is thick-scaled, finned, kind of pointed nose, and it breaks the surface of the water. And anybody looking over, there is that sort of, holy crap, this thing's about as big as the boat, or as our little conveyance. It is huge. In fact, if you give me a second.
Ashlyn is like leaning out of as far as she can to get a look.
Freya has like the back of her shirt to make sure she doesn't.
Oh crud! I can't do. I can't find one. There is a. Actually, let me try here, guys. I'm sorry. This is me improving, and unfortunately, the file I have that I'm thinking of. Yeah, okay. There's some pictures I've seen of some really big like sturgeons at the surface, and it looks absolutely terrifying if you have because you have no sense of scale. But this is the effect you get. You get a heavily scaled fish. And then what happens is two heads and then a third head break the surface. And and actually anybody looking over, you can see them coming up from the bottom. And what you see are two very human-looking people, except that they have like a pale face and throat in the front of the torso, and then the rest is like a bluish or greenish color. The hair is washed out and very sun bleached, and of course wet means sticks to the neck and shoulders, and you can tell that down about where the waist or the hips are, there's no legs. There's like a fish-like tail and a broad fish fin. Now anybody who's paying attention or has a bit of understanding will see that unlike say a mermaid who often has a vertical tail, they have horizontal tails. And Edgar, perhaps, because I know he's like a science guy, will be like, yeah, of course, because they're going to swim like a cetacean. They're going to swim like a dolphin. They're not going to swim like this. But they also don't have knees. If you've ever seen like really badly done mermaids where you can tell they just put like a fishtail on somebody's legs. Yeah, they have a very serpentine lower body. And there's one male and one obvious female. And then breaking the water is an individual that looks like a human, but he's got really little ears and he has very short, very fine, very silky, but dense fur, a pelt. So he looks like one of the farming people, but his ears aren't right. And he's got hair, and also he has webbed fingers. And the best way would be like somebody took an otter and a human and kind of merged them together. And he's sort of treading water. The other two, which must be water people, don't have to use their hands. You can see their tails. And the fish is like rubbing, like as it passes by, they're rubbing it and it'll come around to get rubbed again and then it'll dive down. And it is easily 2 or 3 times as long as them. And the 3 of them look up at you, and the furred person, the one with the pelt, as you come to a halt, says, "Have you come to trade?"
Hello there.
Hello.
Well, not particularly. We're new around these parts.
Ken,
You were cut off there, Chris.
oh, I was like cannonball. He's gonna jump in while they're talking.
Dear.
Boosh. That will attract some more individuals. That will attract some more people. So you say we're new around here.
Did he actually cannonball while wearing his armor?
Did you actually?
I would have taken my armor off, but yeah, definitely.
Okay, hold on. Once again, in order to my ADD brain to keep track of everything, let me bring up the edge chart. Not that we need it, but it may be useful. So let's actually, because Lamar tops the edge chart, you cannonball in. First of all, the water is amazingly clear. It's cool, but it's not like super cold. It is reasonably deep. You're not sure how far down it goes, but you can still, it's shallow enough that stuff grows at the bottom of this lake. But that's a lot of water. You can't really see exactly what's down there, but the water is clear. It's not freezing cold. It gets but then, it's a very bright sunny day. So the water is warmish. But you are kind of dressed in fish scatter. This 20-foot sturgeon-like, also, if you've ever, what is that? I can't pronounce its name, Arapama. It's this really giant fish from the Amazon. It's huge scaled. This thing comes by and actually, it looks at you with a big eye and actually nudges you, but almost like a cow or a dog investigating, and then it swirls around to the 2 fish-tailed people. It's a little intimidating because it's huge. But the 3 people in the water with you don't really seem to be worried about it. And then I'm going to use edge. It's easier. Freya. Lamar just jumped in the water. Boosh. He's swimming around, looks happy as a clam. He's got this, and this is where you really get the scale of the fish next to him. He looks like just an infant next to a catfish. I mean, it's huge. And Ashlyn is leaning over the side, talking to these people, one of whom had asked if you had come to trade. Anything specific you're doing?
I am still holding the back of Ashlyn's shirt to make sure she doesn't lean over too far and fall in.
Okay.
Rolling my eyes at Lamar and just kind of letting him do his own thing, because if he gets eaten by a fish, that's his own fault. I'm not going to rescue him. But no, I'm just kind of holding on to Ashlyn to make sure she doesn't fall in, and readying myself to pull her back quickly if things get hostile.
Okay. Ashlyn, nobody seems to have any weapons. I mean, you realize that there is what looks like like a belt or some sort of harness that they have, perhaps, and everybody, you've come to the realization everybody carries a knife. So you're not sure if they're metal or stone or maybe shell, and you're not sure what they were doing out here because they're out in the middle of some pretty deep water, but all three of them look like they are used to swimming. Yeah, that's a pretty good pick. But imagine a somewhat slightly shorter tail and a human face. But that's a great example of what I got to steal that. That's a great example of what swimming people would look like. All right. Anyway, so you said we are visit. They asked, "Have you come to trade?"
Right. And
your
she said,
reply
well,
was?
not exactly. We're new in the. We were actually heading, and then Lamar does his cannonball.
Yes.
We were heading towards the city of Stone and Steel, and we're passing through.
Ah, one of them says, "You will need to speak to Flowering Hill. He can tell you more about that."
Well, that would be great. Don't mind him. She just kind of gestures at Lamar. He, how to put this delicately, marches to the beat of his own drum, if you get my meaning.
Well, you know what, man? I don't have a name for this thing. I am very sorry. So if anybody comes up with a really cool name for the giant ass fish, you get a resolve. But they give a name and they say, well, he seems to like them, and there's nothing really else in here that would be of a danger, so he can swim as much as he wishes.
Oh yeah. What? Oh, I have swimming. I have 2D in swimming. How fast is that?
2D in swimming is. I can honestly tell you, you will lose a race to everybody else, but that is a respectable. Hold on a second here. So for anybody listening at home and wondering about all of this, speed is across the board. Flight, running, swimming, it's all the same value. Leaping is different though. But speed, 2 dice of speed, you can hit a whopping 5 miles an hour.
Gotcha. Okay.
You will quickly find that the furred individual is one of the swimming people, and the fish-tailed individuals are of the water people. They swim faster than you. I think they're 3 and 4 die of swimming, but
Fair enough.
you are a person, and they are obviously meant to play around in water. So yeah, they wave toward the docks and the buildings and say you should speak with Flowering Hill. Let me go to Edgar. Edgar, anything that you're up to at the moment?
Ashlyn would introduce herself at that point.
Edgar's also been looking over the water because it's very interesting looking at the ecosystem and all that other kind of stuff. He's also been using construct stuff a lot more because he's trying to learn how to use stuff. So like making the tools and messing with the turrets and stuff. So he's going to say, Lamar, when you're ready to come back up, and he'll make a hooked ladder construct so Lamar can climb back up onto the ship if he needs it.
Okay. Yeah, I just realized. I just looked it up. Olympians swim at 5 miles an hour, so I'm swimming like as fast as Michael Phelps right now. Just as a heads up.
Yeah. And if you let me do a real quick check here.
Oh wait, you're waiting on me?
No, I'm just want to take a. I got to get down to the W's.
You know,
Yeah. Swimming people have 3 dice, and water people have 4 dice and they both have lungs as a con. So yeah, you're swimming like an Olympic swimmer, and it's like it's 15 miles and 25 miles an hour. The other ones are moving at a very quick rate, but they look like they're built for the water. But yeah, you have Olympic at 3 currently. You have gone from maybe 1 die to Olympic level swimming. And I will have to look that name up and get its translation and turn that into the actual animal pet's name. So Edgar, you were sorry, got distracted.
Okay.
Edgar, what were you doing?
I was also looking at the water, and then I made a ladder for Lamar to come back up when he was ready.
Yeah, that may be a while. I hate to say it.
I
You know, I had a thought.
Well, Roland, you're next.
Hey, Lamar, get up here.
Sure.
I have an idea. I want you up on the boat for now. We'll go to the docks, and maybe if you can convince Ashlyn to do so, we can, use the boat to haul you, and you can water ski. If we can use this skiff.
He gives Ashlyn like the biggest anime like puppy dog eyes. Like his eyes grow so huge.
Freya's shaking her head no.
Water skis?
What about
How about a raft?
Ashlyn? Ashlyn is going to pull out a what is it called? It's literally the opposite of water skiing. You're
A
like a kite.
wakeboard?
No.
A parasail?
Yes.
We might be able to trade lodging and information, and maybe even money for a few of these rides. That sounds like something we could do.
Okay. I like the way you're thinking. Make some cash, using but we're trying to sell water sports to water people. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they can swim as much as they want, but they can't fly.
I mean, that's assuming they'd want to.
The swimming person might. Who knows? Anyway, I wanted you up here because I want to go to the dock, land the ship, and then we can figure out what to do from there.
All right.
I would like the skiff to be someplace relatively not over open water.
Okay. I'm going to say then that you bring it into the dock, and you end up with a small group of individuals coming after you, following, or in fact, some of them are keeping up with you. That's actually one of the parts where you realize how fast like you got Lamar, he's moving along at a pretty good clip. He's like doing good. And then you realize that you're cruising along. If you speed up about as fast as this thing will go, some of these water people are porpoising through the water next to you and keeping up with you. And then when you get to the docks, a lot of them sort of sink down and then come back up. And some of them, this is where you get to see one of the, and I'll tell you, they're called swimming people, this sort of humanoid, the human otter. Like I said, the furred people look kind of like a human, but with a cat pelt. This is a human with like an otter pelt. And all he has on is basically like a belt and shorts. And other than that, you see an individual with long hair and a braid that goes in a braid down his back and a tail like you see there. And he basically standing hands on his hips on the dock once you pull in, waiting. And then you see one of the hunting people, tall, broad-shouldered. What you can see of his arms are pretty muscular, shoulder-length hair. His clothing, which is kind of a reminiscent of what you see up in Ashcam and Fearcat, that sort of layered tunics, has flowers all done all over the trim and edging and patterned all about that. And he's got sort of a broad leather belt with a knife and pouches on it. And then where the two of them are, kind of one of the water people pulls herself up so she can sit on the dock, and she kind of does it pretty easily. She reaches up and just pulls herself up. And like I said, she has a pale white face and throat, and the front of her torso going down to about where the navel would be, and then the palms of her hands, and then the rest of it is medium blue. Her hair is a sandy color, comes down probably about to her shoulder blades, and then the dark blue of her body darkens to a green, and scales, which is very, very dark green on the dorsal side and very paler on the central, and speckled with black spots surrounded by pale yellow circles. And she basically, about all she has on is something resembling like a belt from which there's like some sort of knife. You probably not made out of metal, probably some sort of stone or bone or knife made of shell. And she's sitting there, and the two of them are standing behind, and they watch as you bring the skiff in at the docks. And there's boats all about, and you see more of the hunting people, and you see a lot more of these swimming people who, true to their nature, are messing about or with boats and nets and doing various things. And the one with the flowers all over his clothing, as you dock, sort of raises a hand and says, "Welcome to the trading post of the marked fields."
Of Lamar Fields?
I'll write it out.
Okay.
Question: does the skiff float?
Yes, if you like turn it off. Well, if you turn it off and you like shut it down, it'll float. It's capable. It's not going to really bring in water.
Yeah, I don't want it to sink. Because if it'll sink if he sets it down on the water, then he's going to want to park it on land. But if it'll float out on the dock,
No, it'll float. It's got a sealed bottom. So basic. I mean, it's a flat bottom. You don't have really much of a keel, but you're also right here in the docks, and you can do some work to tie it up. But it'll sit. It'll rock a bit as you get on and off of it, because it's basically now a raft. But yeah, it'll float.
Yeah, perfectly fine with me.
Okay.
Roland's gonna look at Ashlyn and go, I think you should take this one. I think you're probably best suited for discussing, unless you want me to.
That's quite all right. I can handle it. So long as Lamar doesn't cause it.
You cut out right then, so I can.
Oh,
It sounded like you're cursing, so that also worked well there.
Yeah.
it was so long as Lamar doesn't cause an international incident.
Come on, Lamar. Let's
Dimensional or like intergalactical.
It's okay. Let's make sure we got everything secured. That way you can go for a swim. And she made you a parasail, so we want to get everything battened down and secured so you can go for a flight, don't you?
I mean, sure, I'm down.
Yeah, Ashlyn's gonna take the opportunity while he distracts Lamar to walk out to greet them.
All right. So they effectively, if you have pulled into a dock and they're over here at the corner. So if you get off and come around, and that's where you can get a look at it now. The hunting person, he's, like I said, he's tall, broad shoulders, and the swimming person has a build that you would associate with your typical, Mike Phelps swimmer. You also realize that the water person is probably actually a lot longer than you initially realized, because the tail is longer than her legs. If she was like fully human, her legs would be. So it's a little surreal there. And the three of them are together, and there's a body language that almost as if they're expectant of you, and they are expecting you equally. It's so maybe the three peoples all work together, but the one who said welcome to the trading post of Marked Fields sort of steps forward when he sees you, Ashlyn, and slaps his chest and says, "I am Flowering Hill. Please, these are my companions, great hero and wise in the ways of water," and indicating the swimming person and the water person. You have not come to trade. You have come for news, you say?
Well, yes. We were passing through, really. We were on our way to the city of Stone and Steel. I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm so sorry. My name is Ashlyn. And I
We are
got
pleased,
4 companions back there.
we are pleased to meet you, Ashlyn. We trade. Well, we trade with the lands that surround the city of Stone and Steel. By the river. The border begins about a day to sunward. I'll put. By the way, I'll put their names in the chat so you get them all.
If Edgar and Freya are still on the boat, while Lamar is distracted, he's gonna be like, "You should go with her."
Sure.
Distracted from what?
Nothing. Come on, we need to make sure we get all this stuff battened down.
All right. 1, 2, 3. He's. Oh, I don't know.
He's the one doing most of the work.
Are you even helping over there? I'm assuming he can't see you on the other side of the skiff. He's just assuming you're doing your part.
You're probably twice as strong, if not more than that, than me. I'm doing what I can. That's why I needed your help.
Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your nose, do some bewitch shenanigans. You use your Gandalf like magic stuff.
The great hero looks at you, Ashlyn, and says, "Do your companions need assistance in tying your boat to the dock?"
I don't think so. No, he's just keeping the noisy one busy. He can come off rather uncouth, as it were.
So wise in the ways of water says, "Well, swims forward like him. He can't be all bad."
No, he's not all bad. He's just different. He's special,
Flowering-
as they say.
Flowering
bit
Hill says
touched.
Flowering Hill says he seems enthusiastic.
That's a
but
word for it.
if you are traveling to the city of Stone and Steel, you should know it oversees a land of laws and lords and guards. It is not as free and open as these lands. And you should know that the city is ruled by Bouquet of Flowers, who stands twice as tall as any person, indicating the 3 of them, and is said to be immortal.
Sorry, taking notes.
Yeah, I can tell. Now, And he,
Do you-
yes.
Do you know what peoples is he from? This bouquet of flowers. Do you know?
Well, I have, so Flowering Hill says, I have never seen this bouquet of flowers. I've only heard about them. We tend to trade at the border. You will need to be aware that when you take the road down, there'll be a guard, there'll be a gate, and you will probably have to pay a toll. They charge by, and then he looks at the skiff, and he says, they charge by the axle or by the beast. You have neither. I don't know what they will say. And if you have no trade goods or money, They may not let you through.
Well, the thing is, I hate to be using this because it feels rather untoward. Some peoples have been calling us wonder workers. We're not from here in a greater sense.
You're not from this land?
Right. Or any that you've heard of.
So the three of them kind of look at each other and then look at you. We have heard tales of wonder workers. What? You don't need anything from us, do you?
No, you're perfectly fine. Well,
They all
be
sort of
honest.
relax at that, as if wonder workers could mean
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, well, to be honest, I was curious. I wanted to, well, like I said, we're not from here, so I wanted to, well, see everything I could, meet y'all, talk and be friendly and the like.
So Wise in the Ways of Water kind of reaches up and slaps Great Hero on his thigh, and he bends down, and she sort of talks quietly to him. And he says, if you wish to see new things, I think it is only proper, and he looks at Flowering Hill, that we welcome you to what little we have here at Marked Fields. It would be poor for us to mistreat guests such as yourselves. And there's like a tone and a body language of there's this cautious. They have a very strange convenience. They claim to be wonder workers. Let's get on their good side. Anybody, those of you like especially who have face, if you have face as your speciality and you're not totally distracted like Lamar, will probably pick that up. And so Flowering Hill like slaps his hands together and says, that is an excellent idea. You should join us tonight at our table. You can tell us from stories of where you were from, and we will tell you what we know.
Well, that sounds wonderful. Now, y'all don't have to go too far out of your way or nothing. And it just, like I said, we'll be in right neighborly, as it were.
Neighborly. That is a good idea. But as a trading post, we are open to all. Most take the road, not cross the center of the lake as you did. But yes, I think in the interest of being good neighbors and knowing more about our travelers, in case you ever come back, we shall. And he gestures at like the central building, which is sort of a kind of like the hall that you remembers up in Ashcam. We will put out a table tonight.
That sounds wonderful.
We will see you once the sun drops. And at that, Wise in the Ways of Water just drops back into the lake, and there's you can see for a moment her tail, and then down into the depths, and then the other two sort of talking together step away, and now you have a small crowd of mostly hunting and swimming people. There may be a few other peoples, but most of them, and they're sort of gathered around, curious about this raft and its strange construction, and the five of you, and the fact that you sort of just drifted over top the water. I'm going to go around now in reverse. Roland, there's a activity is starting to go about. Basically, Flowering Hill and Great Hero are like pointing and grabbing people, and they're starting to prepare things inside. It's later in the afternoon, so dinner or the evening meal will be served presently, and it looks like they're getting ready to put things together for that. So what is Roland up to now?
Once the skiff is secure and all of their supplies are down, if they have a little bit of time, he's going to basically ask Ashlyn and the others what they discussed. If any of the swimming people are nearby, he's actually just going to really mostly smile at one of them, and he's going to look at Lamar and go, "Hey, do you want to go for a flight? Let's show off a little bit."
Hey. I'm taking notes, so let me switch to a fresh sheet here. So Roland.
He is willing because Ashlyn, if I remember correctly, pulled out essentially a parachute, a harness, and a rope, which is a parasailing unit. He's willing to take Lamar over the water so that people can watch Lamar fly.
He's top of the.
All right. Well, I'll get to you in a moment, Lamar. Because I'm going counterclockwise around my screen. Freya.
At this point, Freya has made her way over to where Ashlyn is, and she overheard the invite. And I'm going to kind of lean over to Ashlyn and say, do you think that you might be able to get a couple bottles of your favorite wine out of your bag to offer to them as like a thank you gift for having us? Or something from our world that we might be able to take out of your bag to give to them.
Yes, that would be a great idea. I like the way you think.
Well, I mean, it was you that taught me we're supposed to bring a gift when we're invited somewhere, so, you know.
I mean, it's just good manners.
So that's what Freya's doing.
Okay. Lamar.
As I'm like,
He could not hear you.
Oh,
I can hear him.
Oh, no, he said we missed the first part that he said.
The first part.
I was saying I'm on top of the world. Paraglide. I'm screaming it out.
So he's letting Roland.
I'm totally playing Celine Dion on my phone as this is happening.
So he's letting Roland just like fly him around the lake.
Are you using your sorcery, or are you using the skiff?
Using the skiff.
Okay.
So that way, the skiff is pulling him like a paraglider, a parasail. Right. That way, people can watch what they're doing, and at some point, Roland is willing to, give some of the locals a ride if they're willing to try it.
I'm like, wait your turn, little boy, and I'm like pushing him down off the thing. So I'm still enjoying my ride.
Okay.
No, I'm totally joking.
Edgar. What are you up to?
So Edgar's a couple. Edgar is also kind of fussily worried that they're going to kill themselves out there. So one thing he's going to try is the construct power can make stuff like airfoils and parachutes and stuff. Apparently, reading through it, he's going to try to make a paddle raft, basically, so he can go out on the water as well with separate from the skiff if possible. That's what he's going to try to do. Experiment a little bit with going out on the water with a construct essentially, and then be there in case Lamar does something unexpected or goes flying off into the air or something.
So Edgar, you were able to get out on the water with a construct. It effectively, it can give you swimming. Now, you don't get cons, but we will note that sort of defaults to surface only swimming, and you're boating about. The surreal part for you, of course, is that you are kind of watching after Roland Lamar zipping about and it dawns on you that there's a number of like heads that keep popping up next to your raft and then diving down. And some of the swimming people are very curious. Swimming in water people are very curious about this very strange raft or boat that you made out of nothing. It's just there. There was nothing, and then he looked in the water, and this was it. And he stepped in it, and it just rode itself out. And so they're like, they come up, and you realize that there's thumping noise, and you realize they're like tapping it, and it's, I'm going to touch the boat. He touches the butt. And so there's this, there's a number, especially the younger ones, are very curious about this strange thing. And finally, we'll get to Ashlyn. Anything specific you're up to?
Not specific, but she would kind of, just chat with people. She's not worried about the idiots on the water. That's sort of why it was, Freya said no to skiing, so what's more dangerous than that?
And it certainly is a case that they must be wonder workers. Look, their boat doesn't touch the water, and that one can fly, and that one can do this. There's a number of people who absolutely amazed at your companions and what they're getting away with. Do you have any, there's certainly, this is a trading post, you realize that there is some homes, there's like some corral. It's a small complex, and there's, obviously they work the water a bit. There's nets and drying racks and so on. There's areas where they build and repair boats. The trading post itself, there's like a building where they swap what they make with what people bring. You understand that they deal in crap. I thought I wrote it down. Yes, there we go. Man, I can't find my own sentences. You understand that they trade apparently in freshwater pearls. They trade in shellfish and the shells, and in fish and fish skin and such. And every now and then they talk about, this is over a bit of chatting. There's one of them brags about every now and then they bring in the bottom fish, and you see this like stretched out skin that is being dried of something. It's not as long as swims forward, but it's like, whatever it is, it's kind of got a round body and a tail, and it's like as big as a table. It's like, you figure it's about 8 feet across, and apparently there's some really immense ones on the bottom, and the lake is kind of long. It's not very wide, but it's lengthy, so they can go back and forth. And they collect in small amounts, but they swap it with merchants that come by. They trade for things they can use, stuff that can be used in the water, which would be often like ceramics and such. Metal doesn't work. Glass is good, but sometimes it disappears. Or things that they can use here, and it just lets them survive. It's prosper. And they just exchange items. And sometimes traders come in from the outer regions and they trade that way. So it's a stopover point. You also understand that roughly a day sunward down the Great Trade Road is apparently a gatehouse of sorts that's built on either side of the road, and this marks the edge, and you understand that this marks the edge of a place that they call Varava. And I'll type that for those taking notes. And they say Varava is the lands to sunward, and much further down is this city of stone and steel, and it is much more regulated, as it was said, the land of laws, lords, and guards, than the sort of freer, less governed frontier here between the two. And you also get told that, according to the merchants, this road runs for a great distance, and if you follow it far enough, you'll come to other great kingdoms. and you being if you're willing to talk with people and such, you become somewhat popular. You have hunting, and you don't really. The swimming people don't get out. I mean, the water people don't get out of the water. So if you're up on the docks, you mainly talk to the swimming people and these hunting people, and they do wear, like, the swimming people will, if they're going to go in the water, they strip down to usually just the equivalent of shorts or a loincloth. Otherwise, they will actually dress in a little more, not as many layers because they have a pelt, but they'll dress in a little more. And they seem to specialize in boats and boating and making boats. And then the hunting people kind of run a lot of everything else. And then the swimming people, well, that's their domain, all that water out there.
I have to ask the swimming and the fish people. Do they have their own type of karate?
The idea of, they do not have any. Neither of them have any sort of specific unarmed fighting styles.
Okay, all right. So it's not okay, because in One Piece, the fishermen have their own special type of martial art. It's called fishman karate, and it's like the greatest thing in the sea. So I just had to see if they had that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
They use basically spears and nets and trident-like weapons, but they mainly their weapon skill is for hunting and dealing with fish and bagging fish and getting things. Swims forward is apparently a bit of an anomaly. They've kind of kept him around and fed him, and he's been in the lake for seasons, for hands and hands of seasons. So he may have become like a pet of the entire tribe of water people. You occasionally see fish like him, but way smaller. So he may be a pampered pet that has just grown immense, and they've kept him around. But no. Now, the idea of, like, knowing how to use tools and weapons, I mean, they kind of understand that, but not to the degree that you were thinking of.
Ashlyn also, while wandering around and talking to people, she gets some good sketches in, especially of, like, the peoples that she hasn't encountered yet.
Which gets also, of course, occasionally people kind of peeking over your shoulder to see what you're doing, because that's fascinating. And by the way, if in case it wasn't clear, of course, the water people, other than maybe a belt, like something around the waist, or maybe a harness for like bags and things, don't wear a thing at all. Because and it's kind of obvious. I mean, why would you? They also, another interesting thing is actually they, if you're sketching them, Ashlyn, you realize that they have, how to describe this. You see, like the swimming people obviously have a layer of body fat, but they also have a very toned build. And the swimming and the water people, it's not as obvious, but then you realize, of course, there's a bit more insulating body fat because they spend all their time in the water. So their physiques are a little interesting and different. But also they spend all their time in the water, so they have that kind of build you would expect of somebody who spends all their time working against a pretty good resistance. Anything else of note from anybody? All right.
What do they eat? Have they started eating yet? I want to eat with these water.
That's what I was getting ready to get to.
I was actually going to ask if any of the villagers were brave enough to attempt to do their own flight. Now, Roland's not going to go as fast, so they don't go as high, but he's willing to see if anybody wants to attempt it.
Because I think it'll be funny, sure. What you end up with is some of the younger ones who are probably in Earth terms, teens, late teens, or very early 20s, are first very excited to try this and think it's amazing because they can fly. They've only heard stories about those who can fly and wonder workers. And, this is paragliding. It's about as close as you're going to get, but it's pretty awesome. So you end up with a couple of groups wanting, once you finally get Lamar off the parasail, there's a couple of that definitely want to try this out and are more than willing. And some of the swimming people actually, one of them gets the bright idea of just letting go and dropping, turns himself legs tight into like a little bullet and bam, and he thinks that's awesome too. Although there's a bit of no, wait, hold on, that may be a bit much.
Do any of the water people try it? Because flying mermaids—that's something we want to see.
Water people are pretty content to remain in their literally in their element.
I'm going to pick up when we're done. I am going to pick up Edgar so he doesn't have to row the boat back.
I would say technically, now granted you can do that, but Edgar, I would say technically all you have to do is think about it, and it probably rows itself, but you may not have figured that out yet.
No, I was trying a paddle. I was trying a paddle wheel type thing. So
yeah, okay. So you can pick up Edgar.
Fine. Yeah, I'm happy to. I'm happy to jump on the skiff. Also, it's closer to people falling in the water. So.
So eventually, the water people now. It becomes obvious to anybody who really pays attention that they breathe air. So, interesting enough, in the evening, what happens is they don't like disappear into the depths. A lot of them end up on their back, kind of near the docks, doing sort of a dead man's float. And there's probably an eerie moment, either now or later, where you think they're dead, and eventually, they sleep on the surface. And they sleep in the shallows. Okay, now that makes sense. But there's probably at some point, you step out and you just see a bunch of them on the surface, tails out, arms out, face up, back floating. And yeah, because dead man's floats the other way around, floating on their backs, and they look totally still. They look like you're like, did they all die? Oh wait, they're asleep. So there's possibly a creepy moment for some of you later. But the swimming people and the hunting people sort of gather together, and like I said, there may be one or two of others, but I didn't really go that detailed. I'm trying not to overload, but. You also realize that Flowering Hill, Great Hero, and Wise in the Ways of Water are apparently each the leader of their peoples, and therefore sort of as a group make decisions. And Flowering Hill and Great Hero have set a table pretty much in the trading post or hall, which is big enough so that people can come in and exchange wares and so on. As being there's no trader merchant caravans here now, they've set it up for all you. And in response to what you were asking, Lamar, a big surprise, there's a lot of stuff from the lake. There's fish of various kinds. There is stuff that is served in shells. There's crustaceans, but there's also stuff from the land. There's land animals, probably birds and herbivores of different kinds. And there's a lot of vegetables type things and things akin to bread, like flatbreads and all that. And it's laid out pretty much. It's not quite like a buffet, but basically they lay different things all up and down the table. And as once again, as honored guests, this time you guys are up there with Flowering Hill and Great Hero speaking with you. And it's actually not one. The tables are not one long table, but it's a series of tables set up, and a lot of people are grouped around. So, and they've also kind of ask if it's okay, but they break you up so that you can sit with different people because everybody kind of wants to talk to you. And Roland and Lamar are massively popular with the younger set, and they kind of all want to sit with you and be like, "That was amazing! You flew! That was incredible! Tell us more." Meanwhile, Ashlyn, Freya, and Edgar, Ashlyn and Freya, who sort of talked a bit, and especially Ashlyn, you end up sitting with sort of the two leaders of the land division because they kind of want to find out if there's more information, basically share information.
Mhm.
And that's that would be pretty much the setup for dinner.
So I'm definitely eating some of this bread just a little bit. And I'm like, so do you guys like have undersea ovens? Like how do you bake this bread under the water?
So one of the swimming people kind of looks at you and he says, "These are made here." And he points out, but then another one goes, "Oh yeah, but the water people eat everything raw." And
Oh,
you
they
hear a
don't-
third voice, and you hear a first voice, "Even frogs."
Okay. I mean, like back home, I've had sashimi, and like that's fine. That's fine. Not frog though,
I've had frog. Don't knock frog.
but raw though.
I had to cook it. I mean, our frogs are a little too slimy to be eaten raw.
Yeah.
Also, I got it out in the wild. It's not a thing you want to eat without cooking it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like, I don't hate on eating frogs cooked. I'm just saying I've never had frog sashimi. That's
Well, I mean, in our world, there's too many chances of parasites. You gotta cook it, especially if you catch one wild like I had to.
yeah. Have you ever had chicken sashimi? That's a thing.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
know.
if you want to get sick, yeah, sure, go for it.
Oh
eat
no,
raw
no,
chicken.
they have these specifically bred chickens, like away from everything else. And what really gives you salmonella back home is like the factors that they're processed in, not necessarily. But yeah, anyway, if you grow them clean specifically for this purpose, away from parasites, apparently you can just chop them up and eat them, and they just like melt in your mouth like butter. But yeah, I totally eat some frog. Yeah, like so.
So Roland's going to ask him about the kids about interesting things that have happened besides them lately.
Like locally,
Yeah.
interesting things.
Yes.
The tolls have gone up. So when they go down the river to trade, there's a parent. The tolls have gone up. That's something that some of them find frustrating because it makes them less interested in trading down the river for the things that this Varava and the city of Stone and Steel likes, which is mainly pearls. So they don't get as much goods back for the pearls that they trade. They're a little annoyed about that. There's some gossip about who likes who. There's some gossip about one of the hunting people kind of enamored with one of the swimming people and almost drowned. That was apparently not a good idea.
Doesn't seem like it.
And there's also a bit of discussion that there's also sort of a acknowledgement that nothing interesting happens here. Which is a mix of, yeah, that's why we like it here, and really one day I need to take the Great Trade Road and see where it goes.
He is gonna, like, since they seem to be like hanging on their words, he's gonna, like, if they're asking for stories, basically start telling them about some of the movies he's seen.
Yeah, telling stories, you end up with a small crowd listening to whatever you're relating. That's Ashlyn, Freya, Edgar, anything specific from you all?
Like normal, Edgar's going to ask if they have like anything like writings or books or anything like that. Drawing.
Yeah, they do have writing. A lot of what Flowering Hill, for example, keeps books, literally like books of accounts and books of things. Books of entertainment, possibly a few things that have ended up from trading caravans and so on, scrolls of stories, but he doesn't have a whole lot. But he's very proud of a book in which he sort of writes down trade transactions and things that are bought and sold and what it went for and numbers like that. He does, and he understands. I mean, he understands accounting to a certain degree, and it's sort of a track of what comes in and out and what they have caught and what they can do with it. So he does have that. It's more elaborate than Fear Cat, and it's a slightly different written language. So mostly, like I said, like the Fear Cat and Ashcam used a written language that was a lot of vertical, horizontal, angled strokes, which is good to carve. His is a lot like that. The characters are similar, but a little more elaborate, as if this written language has evolved to express more ideas in a little more depth. And then you can also tell there's a numbering system, which is obviously not the same, but you begin to pick up because it is you can say like, oh yeah, you can see where it's symbol, 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 and then they start to repeat and such. And he does, and there is a currency, not a whole lot. They mainly trade barter, but he also understands having to keep numbers and currency.
Yep, that's what Edgar's going to ask about.
He notes that he will note that if you go to the guard post to get and the tolls, they will ask for either money, which is one reason why they keep some on hand, or they're going to ask for trade goods. And once again, he notes, not sure what they'll ask because you don't have any, you have no axles on your wagon, and you have no animals drawing it. Freya, Ashlyn?
Yeah, Ashlyn will take Freya's suggestion and present them with a couple bottles of, well, her favorite wine. I don't know shit about wine, so don't ask me what it is.
I know that I used to be able to drink a little of it, not anymore. Gives me headaches. So, yeah. At least one of the bottles gets opened, and Flowering Hill and Great Hero start drinking it. And in the process, they sort of start spilling some of their own stories. And Flowering Hill, he realized that his clothes is all covered with flower motifs and such. And at one point, he kind of he does this chest slap, and he says, "My name comes from where I was conceived, and so I dress to honor that." And Great Hero thinks that's pretty funny. And he says, "The last time you said that was where you were born. It is where I was conceived. You can ask my mother." And Great Hero says, "Well, my mother gave me my name, so I perform great deeds," which I think I have. And they end up having and he actually says, "Yes, because I craft some of the best boats on the lake. Do I not? You do. And they start, I mean, it's like they're two old friends who just are realize they end up like drinking one of the entire bottles, like probably not quite realizing what they're doing, but finding it great fun. And if you they will tell you stories, they will listen to whatever you say, and they find you and they find Jack hilarious because Jack eventually comes out, and they're like, he's awesome. They like put out a cup of wine for him, which you may or may not want to let him have.
That's not good for him.
Yeah. And Jack at one point just sits up with his wings on his hips like, "Really?" And then shakes his head and goes off looking for scraps.
Don't you give me that look.
Freya will put a little bit of the wine on her finger and kind of offer it to Jack when Ashlyn's not looking.
Yeah. And then he that's enough for him, but he tries it. Anything with Freya?
Freya is happy to just make small talk and listen to everybody's stories, especially when they open up the bottle of wine and they just start going back and forth as they drink. She's very happy to just listen. She probably has her recorder out to record their banter back and forth.
Which, when you replay, you don't understand a bit of it.
Yeah, it's just habit for her to do it. So,
yeah, the Flowering Hill and Great Hero talk about. I mean, they start to talk about things that have happened. They relate some of the silliness that you're hearing down at their end, such as so and so of the hunting people was so enamored of so and so of the water people, he just tried to press his suit to her and found out he could not tread water anywhere near as she could, and it ended very badly for him. He's not sure he wants to try that again. Which, of course, may lead to some visuals. You're like, I don't think I want to know how any of that worked. They also talk about traders have come by and things they've done, and like the individual who just like was totally terrified because he was out by the dock talking to them when Swims Forward came by, and he took one look at this immense fish and basically just walked away, packed up his wagon, and left. And he actually abandoned a bunch of stuff. He didn't want anything to do with the trading post. That was way too much for him. So they're full of stories like that, and the food is reasonably good. There's it's a lot. If you don't like fish, if you don't like seafood or lake food, it may not be all you're crazy about. But there's other things to try, and it may not it's fresh. That's one of the things you notice. It's not very processed. It's flavorful, reasonably flavorful. It may not be, if you like really strong spices or seasonings or sauces, it may not be quite like that. And you too will hear, oh yeah, the water people eat everything raw. So, but we cook it. They sort of want to make that distinction. Although, of course, Lamar be like, no, I eat raw fish. Well, no, that's good for you. All right. This actually makes a good break point. We can, if you guys leave on the morrow, we can work with that with next session. Does that sound good to everybody?
Yeah.
Yep.
That actually is. I actually have the border encounter as my next thing, but it's only 15 minutes until we would end for the day. So I think I'll bring that in. I don't know if I made it clear, but tonight's adventure was, of course, tonight's session was on the road to adventure. So I can tell you next session will be the city. Well, we will call it the city-state of Arava, because you haven't quite reached the city of Stone and Steel yet.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because they talked about currency. Would it have been possible to get them to show us the currency they're using to see if it's the same as the silver pennies or whatever they were using in Ashcam?
It is not. They have some of that. By the way, as a quick note, Flowering Hill, Great Hero, Wise and Ways of Water. You hear the. I just want you guys to be aware. You will hear a mixture of like names and then these poetic names. So just be aware. If any, like Freya, if she's paying attention, she realizes they're saying like maybe a shorter name, but you're maybe hearing the root meaning. So in some cases, like this is, they say something that's they say a word, but it breaks out to wise in the ways of water. Not talking to me, sorry. So if you will give me a quick moment there, Edgar Roland. And amazingly enough, Roland, somebody asked this question and I broke down. Don't expect this for everywhere, but I broke down and I wrote this out. So he shows you like the silver pennies. He has some of those from the area you've been, from Ashcam, and notes that if he takes this, that he has to change this. They won't accept it, or what they will is they'll accept it, but they weigh it and they give him money back. So he tries not to use this when he goes down to trade on the border. But he does have he does have a small number of coins, and he points out a silver coin that he says is called a hora. That's the word you use here. And he says this is,
We don't.
and
use
this
those
is
anymore.
this is I just forgot his name. Oh my God, Flowering Hill. Flowering Hill is explaining that this is pretty much the currency that most the traders coming up from the border bring with them. And he shows two other coins. He has an iron coin that is apparently a half hora, and a tin coin that is a quarter hora. And he also has a single silver coin, which he calls a dies, and I'll spell that out too, which he says is worth 4 hora. He understands that they have other coins, but the merchants either don't get them, or they're worth so much they don't trade that to him because his goods aren't worth that much. But there's apparently an entire monetary system that's a lot more elaborate than what is used up in Fearcat and Ashcam. And they are of different metals, and they you can see they are much finer. The dyes they use are much more elaborate, and they're manufactured to a finer, slightly finer degree. You suspect the stuff from Ashcam is like hand stamped, probably with some guy with a hammer and some and a pair of dies and a mold, and these may be more machine stamped, even with a simpler machine. I mean, a simple machine, but something more, a little bit more elaborate. One guy's bicep and a heavy sledge.
Yeah, Roland's going to make sure that Ashlyn gets a good look at the coins and hopefully gets to handle them.
Okay.
He is going to, in exchange, he's going to show them the game, because he has like a couple of checker sets, and he's going to show them how to play checkers in exchange for showing them the coins.
Okay. You end up with two slightly tipsy or individuals and some other sober ones, absolutely fascinated, and you get to see a little more of coinage because this immediately becomes a betting game. As they play, bets are played on like who's going to take what, and they start to understand checkers being very simple and draughts being very simple, but they begin to understand the mechanics. So like, yeah, it's crazy. They start betting coins, or they start betting small goods and things on who's going to do what and when and taking which piece and so on. And you end up with a small crowd gathered around, very excited about this entertainment.
Excellent.
At some point around here, we'll like lean over to Edgar and be like, is it just me, or does it seem like everything's getting more advanced the further we get along?
Yeah, both writing, money, currency, cities, it does. Definitely.
It just seems a little odd.
Well, I wonder if we're approaching something, maybe the center, or maybe where everything starts from. So, yeah.
That would make sense. I wonder if it
Roland
just
has a
maybe
few
keeps
things.
growing.
Roland has a few things he wants to discuss with the others when they are not surrounded by people. The other thing he wants to do, because Freya made a recording, is compare the recording and the words they use to the ones for the recordings they got from Fearcat.
Okay.
Because language.
The language it has similar sounds when you do that, but it's not quite the same. As if there's now you have come at 25 miles an hour, and you can easily do 10 hours a day, because it's like it's roughly a 22-hour day with 8 to 9 hours of night, roughly a little bit over 8 hours a night, which leaves like 14 hours a day. Although there's but about 12 hours of traveling time. So you are doing 10 to 12 hours a day at 25 miles, and you've gone a couple of maybe 2 hands of days to do this. So you're talking, hold on here, like I can't math. All of a sudden I can't math. 25 times 10 equals 250. Actually, so it's been about wow, it's not been anywhere near that long. It's only been a few days. You've traveled a couple of 100 miles. So, language shouldn't evolve that much. I mean, so it doesn't sound like it has. But then, in India, you can go from one village to another and the dialect completely changes. And the language does too. There's some areas where in a very small, in a very relatively small area, they have hundreds of languages. So, but this seems to be a case of they probably can understand each other, even if they don't quite speak each other's languages. If you've ever seen the webcomic Stand Still, Stay Silent, she talked about that. Like these people, like the Finnish, nobody understands what they say because the Finnish is completely different from Norwegian, Sweden, Danish, and Icelandic. But like somebody speaking Sweden, a Dane can understand them, but they don't speak Sweden. They still, there's a weird interrelation of languages.
I mean,
on the other
similar
hand,
with a lot of the Romance languages. I speak
Right.
Spanish and I can understand Portuguese. I can understand a little Italian and so on.
Right.
So yeah,
Right.
I get that from a personal perspective.
Right. But then there's also, of course, the fact that there seems to be this Star Trek Universal Translator going on. So figuring out how these languages evolved would certainly get you a Nobel Prize.
Yeah, but this is the thing that I know that Edgar and Roland have kind of bonded over before. So it's a chance for them to kind of discuss it because we're moving into a different country. If the language sounds different enough, does this support Ashland's theory of this world is manufactured?
Which I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a lot of. I can't wait for next session to have this broken down, and God, there was something else I was going to say, and I forgot what it was.
Because the set of checkers is very basic, as a thank you gift for hosting them, he's going to leave a set with the leaders. It's up to them,
Okay.
who gets to keep it. But this is a thank you gift for hosting us, bringing, having brought out a meal. They haven't asked for payment for it, so it's, we gave them wine, we give them this other gift.
You gave them rides.
Yeah, we did things to kind of pay back their hospitality, and they have no idea how valuable to Roland it is that Ashland has seen the money and handled it.
Yeah, and Ashland. That's not all the money. They haven't. There's an impression that there's other coinage, but this is what he is seeing from the merchants that come out of and what they're willing to give him.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And as I noted, it is tin, iron, and silver.
Mm-hmm. I wrote it down as you were saying.
All right, everyone. Fun session. Craziness abounds.
Roland kind of wants to now get together with Ashlyn to see if she's willing to like pull a few of his like makeshift checker sets out instead of the full on plastic one she's probably used to, because it's basically just a wooden board that has the squares cut into it and then rough round pieces.
Please,
one of the
my
things you can
grandpa had a nice wood set.
one of the things you consider too. I actually, in the SCA, I used to maintain a gaming table, and we had all sorts of stuff like that, including cloth boards and like little wooden or clay pieces. I can also tell you that I literally made money using a 2x4s with a hole drilled in them, and you put 2 bar stock dies, and you would put pewter coins, because we didn't have silver, although I do have some silver coins struck this way, and you took a sledgehammer, like a 5-pound sledge, and just slammed it against the concrete floor, and that's a real fun way to make money until your arm says I'm done, and then the next day you can't lift it.
But
All right. Well, I think we are calling it a night here. Pretty
and
sure we could go on talking about anything for hours, but
all right, our next session will be the 30th. Yes, next session will be the 30th. I don't know if anybody here on the chat is going to Origins, but last I heard, Jennifer will be going.
Yep.
So
actually
you can
staying at the
say
same place
hi.
we are.
Yep. Staying with us.
Yep, and you can tell her how much fun the game is. I think she'd like to hear that.
Definitely.
Wait. I show Rem in town because I shared Jennifer's. Is that you, guys?
Yeah.
Coming to Denver on the 28th.
I'm not sure. I know I'm not going to be there. Yeah.
That might be somebody else. Okay.
Because she does marketing for Catalyst.
Okay.
So she might be there for something for them.
All right. Well, and if I get anything really silly, next Friday, next time we meet from the Bigfoot Museum, I'll have to show it to you.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, have a good night, everybody. We'll be back in 2 weeks. If you come into Origin, stop by the Rim booth and see us.
Cool.